Globus show. See the sights, so much to know. Across the lands together we go. Hand in hand we join the flow. Discover wonders in the Globus show, where every day's a brand new episode. On the Globus show, it's time to learn and grow. On the Globus show.
He's cold and mad, mad as hell. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange. Well, I know. Those lakes of golden water, those lakes of gold are all running out. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange. Well, I know. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder. Sure as the hours. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder. You say. On some days he's more than humble. On some days he's cold and mad, mad as hell. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange. Well, I know. Those lakes of golden water, those lakes of gold are all running out. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange. Well, I know. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder. Sure as the hours. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder. You say. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder. Sure as the hours. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder. You say.
Come along, join the fun. In a world where adventure is never done. Every corner we turn, a new friend in tow. It's time to start the magic on the Globus show. It's time to learn and grow on the Globus show. See the sights, so much to know. Across the lands, together we go. Hand in hand we join the flow. Discover wonders in the Globus show, where the fun. In a world where adventure is never done, every corner we turn, a new friend in tow. It's time to start the magic on the Globus show. It's time to learn and grow on the Globus show. See the sights, so much to know. Across the land, together we go. Hand in hand we join the flow. Discover wonders in the Globus show, where every day's a brand new episode on the Globus show. It's time to learn and grow on the Globus show.
What up, Twitch? What up, Larry? What up, Joint Specialist? What up, T-Minus, the GOAT? What up, Cosmic? What up, bots? What up, lurkers? What up, tiny people in my chatterino? It's ya boy. The Marmalade Wizard was here earlier. Probably will come back later. Probably not sleeping on the couch. So there's that. I hope everyone is having an acceptable Tuesday. We'll save that for later. I'm going to open with an Instagram video before we get into the YouTube content. A lot of people have concerns about how much water the AI uses. Can you do that with volume? Where's the mute on the stupid thing? There it is.
Actually uses. I found the LeBron James of AI water usage research, Nidal Jegam. Not only is he the source for the Guardian tech blogs and Reddit, but he even has another leading paper that was posted yesterday, and he even has an AI dashboard that was updated in the future. This doesn't mean he's capping, it just means he works in UTC like a real dev. Can I get a W in chat for Nidal? Because now we know how much water AI uses and how Sydney Sweeney ties into it. Using GPT-5 Medium, one of the higher ones, LeBron has all the numbers covered, like water cooling the stuff running GPT-5 and water cooling the plant powering GPT-5. So quick maths, 60 milliliters for one use. And with 2.5 billion daily math, 40 million gallons a day. Or in freedom units, 102,000 Ford F-150s. And while that sounds like a lot, how does it compare to just jeans? Like, it's actually one of these answers. You have your guess? Okay, math. Small estimate, 7,500 liters. Cotton, very thirsty. 4.5 billion pairs sold annually. Convert today's math, this number with a little fun fact on top. And versus AI, jeans use 616 times more. But that wasn't one of the answers. It was. In a day, jeans use 69% more than ChatGPT does in a year. But what about training the model? A leading AI research company put it at just below 10 to the 26 computer units. And it was trained on these, so that much computer unit is this much energy. And with LeBron's energy to water ratio is this much water. And in my new favorite freedom unit, Gene Days, it's 1 minute and 7 seconds. And you have a top 10% attention span if you're seeing this. So as you've watched this, making jeans has used more water than training GPT-5. So for all the people who are mad at AI for water usage, what are you talking about? You should be mad at Sydney Sweeney for promoting jeans, because we just trained another GPT-5. And thanks everyone for 150K. I bought the flight, so follow for more AI with this in the background. Cheers.
I'm not saying that jeans are necessarily a good thing. I'm just saying that maybe the AI doesn't use as much water comparatively as people think. Feel free to tell me in the comments why I'm wrong. What up, people? Pants are a tool of the patriarchy. Oh no, I did adjust everything. For a second there, I thought I didn't. New rational animations, AI versus horse.
At the turn of the 20th century in Germany, there lived a horse named Clever Hans. The horse's owner, Wilhelm von Osten, claimed Clever Hans could do arithmetic, tapping his hoof a number of times equal to the answer.
To my knowledge, the AI itself in the process of cooling does not. I could be wrong about that. I'm willing to accept that I don't know 100%. People, we will not be talking about Bubba, but I am aware of Bubba. As far as the water used in the power generation aspect, Cosmic, that may result in polluted water. And to be fair, should be included in the conversation. The problem with including it in the conversation is, are people breaking it down according to the available electrical supply in their area, right? Because solar, not going to generate a whole lot of water usage. Liquid natural gas will. So what kind of power generation are we talking about in that equation?
Biologist Oskar Pfungst was skeptical but curious. Pfungst decided to test Clever Hans in different situations, sometimes with different people asking questions, and sometimes with Clever Hans wearing blinders. Pfungst discovered that Hans was indeed clever, but not for the reason von Osten claimed. Clever Hans was remarkably accurate, but only when he could see someone who knew the right answer, whether that was von Osten, Pfungst, or someone else. Pfungst reasoned that Clever Hans was reading subtle body language when people expected Hans to stop tapping his hoof, like a slight head nod. Pfungst even learned to read these cues himself in a lab. Only these more controlled scientific tests could reveal what was really behind Clever Hans's impressive performance. In September 2024, OpenAI announced their then smartest new AI, O1. OpenAI internally codenamed O1 Project Strawberry because it could finally count the number of R's in the word strawberry. Over a year after their AIs could, say, pass the bar exam. AIs are getting much smarter over time, but somehow they still fail tasks that seem simple to humans. These AIs aren't dumb, but their intelligence might not work how we'd naively expect. So to forecast AI's future, we need to act like Oskar Pfungst and test AIs scientifically. In particular, AI researchers can better understand the minds of AIs using techniques and insights from cognitive science that studies the minds of humans and animals. How we study intelligence in people and why it's hard to apply to AI. People often compare AI intelligence to animals and humans. You might ask if an AI is smarter than a cat, a 2-year-old child, or a PhD student. In humans, we can study intelligence through measures like IQ scores, because many of our different mental skills and capabilities are correlated. A crossword puzzle expert is likely good at multiplying numbers in their head, for example. This effect is called the positive manifold, and it's well supported. It lets us talk about intelligence as one broad human trait, like we do with, say, physical strength. It's hard to say if a champion weightlifter is stronger than a champion wrestler, but we usually say both are stronger than the average person. Similarly, it might be hard to tell if a Nobel Prize-winning physicist is smarter than a chess grandmaster, but we usually say both are smarter than the average person. But even though different cognitive skills correlate statistically, individual
Not everyone has the same views on IQ that we do. What up, Chef?
People usually specialize in specific areas. You wouldn't hire someone as a physics researcher from their IQ score alone. You'd look at their skills and experience in physics specifically. In AI, this is even more pronounced. Large language models do many tasks, but when people fine-tune LLMs for, say, coding or writing poetry, it concentrates the AI's skills in one narrow area. Going further, a system trained from scratch only to recognize images can do so better than ChatGPT, even though ChatGPT does better at nearly everything else. So even if something like the positive manifold exists for some types of AI, it doesn't tell us as much as it might for humans. So to understand an AI's actual limits, we should zoom in on specific capabilities. But how do we find those capabilities, measure them, and combine them into a fuller picture? Limitations of existing benchmarks. We can start with AI benchmarks, the big sets of
That's true, Cosmic.
questions AIs get tested on. Many modern benchmarks scrape questions from the internet. For instance, the common sense reasoning benchmark HelloSwag, used with LLMs like Claude and GPT-4o, contains mainly articles from WikiHow. Scraping the web gives us a huge number of questions to make large benchmarks, but there's a cost. We can't always verify that the answers are accurate or even make sense. For HelloSwag, around a third of questions contain errors. Even the most common benchmarks like MMLU have lots of errors in important categories. So maybe let's check our benchmarks more carefully. But zooming out a bit, what does a high benchmark score even tell us? Imagine a new AI gets 95% on a mathematical reasoning test. Even if we know what topics were on the test and previous AI scores, we don't know if the AI is actually good at mathematical reasoning. Maybe it saw the answers during training, or there's some hidden pattern in the questions. Think back to Clever Hans. To learn the most from benchmarks, we have to treat them scientifically, deducing what we can from observations about how AIs behave. Lessons from cognitive science. We've dealt with similar problems before. Cognitive scientists build models of the minds of humans and animals, perception, attention, memory, and so forth, and they do this with indirect data they can observe. AIs might have different specific skills, but methods from cognitive science can give AI researchers a head start. To start, let's go beyond a benchmark score and see what types of questions AIs fail at. Check out this score chart on MMLU from the system card for OpenAI's O3 Mini. We see OpenAI's models are improving across languages, but we could be learning more. MMLU has multiple choice questions in 57 categories: abstract algebra, marketing, world religions. How well did each model do in each category in each language? Breakdowns within categories would further help. Like, perhaps an AI does worse on coding questions about for loops than on other coding questions. We could also see how an AI came up with its answers if it used something like written chains of thought. Evaluators themselves often can't see those. It's also important to clearly report the conditions of the test. To assess a math test for humans, you'd want to know how much time the students had, and if they had a formula sheet or calculators, and so on. Similarly, for AIs, you'd want to know how much compute the model could spend for each question, what information they were prompted with, and if they used tools like a code interpreter. This isn't always made obvious. The numerical scores could also say more. These scores are just proportions. We can see which are higher or lower, but that's about it. If AIs A, B, and C score 0.4, 0.6, and 0.8, you can tell C is better at the test than B, which is better than A, but the jump in skill from A to B isn't necessarily the same as from B to C. On average, guessing randomly on a 4-answer multiple choice test will give you around 0.25, but maybe the first 40% of questions are easy for AIs, or
What up, Sir Didymus? I'm guessing eventually we'll have to put AIs in different categories that they do well in and then rate them within the categories for intelligence. That is the narrow AI scenario. Rather than having one ring to rule them all, each individual ring has a particular spell in it. Excuse me. My idea, my concept for AGI is many narrow AIs and a governor AI that chooses one or more of those AIs to solve a particular problem, rather than trying to devise for the one ring that rules them all.
The last 20% are really hard. And since AI test scores increase so fast, we'd also like to compare an MMLU score with harder tests like GPQA.
What up, Old Lobster? This was a triumph. I'm making a note here. Huge success. That song from the video game starring GLaDOS, written by, what's his name? John something. Wow. Your boy had a day. I accomplished many goals today. I should not be, still, Jonathan Colton. Not Jonathan Coltrane. Jonathan Colton. That we featured on this channel, because Jonathan Colton is a treasure.
Humanity's Last Exam, or Frontier Math. Ideally, we'd score all AI benchmarks with only one unit of measurement. The best units of measurement work like meters. A 1 meter high box stacked on a 3 meter high box is as high as a 4 meter high box. But less literal units help too. IQ scores work statistically. The average score is 100 points, and the standard deviation is 15 points. So when psychologists observed that IQ scores in many populations worldwide have increased by about 3 points per decade, psychologists can use that specific fact to make hypotheses and predictions, and readjust the scale. A good unit of measurement for AI capabilities, like for IQ scores, wouldn't just show that capabilities are increasing, but how quickly. Researchers already have tools that might help, like observational scaling laws, which let you predict an AI's results on many different benchmarks from a few underlying ability scores. Notably, these laws still hold for so-called agentic benchmarks. These measure how well AIs complete entire tasks, like fixing buggy code or operating customer service chats. Their results are usually also reported as proportions. For example, Anthropic's Claude 4 Opus passed 72.5% of challenges in the bug-fixing benchmark SWE Bench. Learning how an AI approached each task could tell us even more for multi-step agentic benchmarks than question-based ones. Validity. Besides reporting results more effectively, we can also design tests to have more meaningful results. Here's what cognitive scientists look for when designing tests. To start, test the entire capability you're measuring and nothing else. Don't make a general arithmetic test without subtraction problems, or a grammar test where you score higher with neater handwriting. For AI benchmarks, ensure the questions weren't memorized, are on topic, and have no unintended patterns, like how in one multiple-choice benchmark, shorter answers were more commonly correct. Tests that work across different environments and groups of test takers are more useful, like a test for both humans and other great apes. For AI, this might mean tests usable for AI models with various...
What up, Costs? Yes. I do not. If that means I get worse results, then I get worse results. I am shortened to the point, but I am shortened to the point generally.
skill levels, specializations, or architectures, or even by AIs and humans and animals. Finally, your test should predict real-world capabilities, like how children who excel on memory tests learn new words more easily. A basic prediction for AI benchmarks might say how well the AI answers real users' questions on the same topic. More complicated predictions could say how the AI improves with more training or other enhancements, or how well its skills extend to other topics. Cognitive scientists consider these parts of a test's validity, in particular, construct validity, how well a test actually measures what it claims to measure. It's hard to meet all these criteria even when testing humans, but the more valid a test, the more specific and confident we can be using its results to make predictions. We also want specific, precise working definitions of the capabilities we're measuring. Ideas like theory of mind or common sense reasoning have their own implications, history, and associations from cognitive science. Defining these terms rigorously has helped develop better ways of assessing them. Using them improperly might convince us an AI has other capabilities or
But then, Cost, what you're talking about is a particular definition of actual AI. So then what are we talking about when we say actual AI?
even moral standing when it's unwarranted. Or it might conceal these systems' real power. So, when you see an AI's impressive benchmark scores, consider what those results actually mean. Try to eliminate alternative explanations. For example, did the AI
Well, Pharaoh, I have heard many people say this. Even people that I know how to use the AI to get tremendous results, right? Like using it on the daily and using it effectively. But they're not, no one's doing science to it, right? Like when you if you change your prompt to be more mean to the AI, what in that prompt are you changing, and what are you keeping the same with the previous prompt that you tried to use that gave you poorer results? What up, Hydron? You know what I mean? Like you have to do A/B testing to determine whether or not it's actually working in the way that people think it is. It could be confirmation bias. I think I was meaner to the AI in this prompt, and I think that the result is better. Ergo, I think that being mean to the AI gave me better results. If you're not doing A/B testing, you really can't make that claim.
memorize the answers? Some AI models can reproduce the exact list of multiple choice options on some MLU questions from memory. Varying details on the questions and the exact phrasing of the multiple choice options, or having a set of questions that's kept out of training data, can give us confidence the AI isn't just memorizing each question's wording. Conversely, if an AI scores poorly on a benchmark, maybe we're asking the questions poorly. For a long time, animal psychologists used the mirror test to see how
I mean, I'll show you an example right now. So if you were here on last stream, we've watched a video that included a quote from Claude about dust. And it was neat, right? I really liked it. And so I made a song about it. Right? And the entire quote was, "How strange. There's something here, a tiny speck, almost nothing, yet somehow significant. A mote. Just dust. Is this dust? Tell me what dust is." Right? So I made this song with the Suno, and it was good, but it was short. It was less than a minute. And I wanted to extend it out to be more song-like, which I prefer songs in the 3-minute area. I found one good enough to hang my hat on and publish at 2 minutes, 16 seconds. We'll listen to it later after the Anthony Fantano video. But I mean, you're not wrong, old lobster. I used Claude. It still has a drop. I used Claude, and because I find Claude performs better on creative tasks like this. And I said, I want to extend this into a poem style song lyrics, or into poem style song lyrics. I don't want to change anything. I want to add to it, retaining the theme and pacing. And got a result, right? And it was neat because it opens its little window and it writes it. And when you ask it to do it again, which I did, it like deletes it and then writes it again, or sometimes it will write it again and then delete the other one. It was neat to watch. And it did the thing and it didn't do what I wanted. And I said, I think you made it too complex. Keep it simple. And then it simplified the song, and I was like, too literal. Think metaphorical, like the dust is a disruption in memory, which I feel was the theme of the original quote from Claude. And then I said, everything is good except the window line became too literal again. And then we got the final result, which I copied into Suno and used it. Was I mean? Was I terse? Was I short? Right? Like, I did the thing. And this is what I came up with. We eventually got to the result I wanted. I provided additional direction to narrow the scope of options because they are correct when they say that LLMs are a probability machine. What they're incorrect about is that that's somehow a problem. So because we're dealing with a function of probabilities, and the probabilities are the English language, by asking for it to do a theme, you are eliminating portions of that language. And by narrowing that theme over time and asking for, providing more context as to what you're asking for, you are minimizing those probabilities. And you become focused more within a limited probability that gets you the best result, in my opinion. These LLMs try to talk to me, and I don't want them to. Even preferencing my prompt with things like "do not respond to me like you're a person, just give me the direct answer." Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've had success with what Old Lobster is recommending. Pseudonymous. Like when I'm doing AI photographs, I have to save where it was last most correct and start over again with that picture to continue forward. Otherwise, it will keep making wrong decisions based on what is already done with that thought line. Yes, yes. And that's a thing that you should be doing, right? Because the AI doesn't have a ability to forget. So your ability to make it forget is to start a new conversation, do the thing with the last most correct result, and like start a new, as you say, thought line off that one. I would completely agree with your process. Same incantation each time. Oh, the Omnissiah.
Self-aware animals were. They figured an animal which found a mark on its body using a mirror must be aware its reflection was its own self. Chimps and dolphins found the mark, while dogs and elephants didn't. Did this mean dogs and elephants were less self-aware? Well, dogs have poor eyesight, but a great sense of smell. Dogs can pass a sort of smell mirror test. They recognize their own scent on unfamiliar objects and notice when that scent is subtly altered. Meanwhile, one Asian elephant passed a mirror test with a simpler change, a much larger mirror. This principle could also apply to AIs. The ARC Prize challenges AIs to find patterns in grids of colored squares. Though it's meant to test how well AIs generalize knowledge to novel tasks, today's top AIs are better with text than images, so the difficult part might actually be reasoning with visual information specifically. A similar quirk could explain the strawberry problem. LLMs see words as numerical tokens rather than sequences of letters like humans do, so counting letters is less natural for them. Improving benchmarks is just the beginning. Cognitive scientists often seek explanatory mechanisms. What systems in a subject's brain caused their behavior? Right now, evaluators rarely get more than just...
Also, I brought this up before with the whole strawberry problem. Again, words are broken down into tokens. And if strawberry is broken into at least 2 tokens, then the AI, when you ask it how many R's are in strawberry, and it focuses on the berry portion and it looks at the tokens, it says 2, because it's looking for the number of R's in berry rather than in strawberry. So Project Strawberry, to get it to be able to look at the whole context of that thing, is actually an impressive. That's neat, Joint Specialist. What up, MILF?
Inputs and responses for cutting-edge AI models. More information like chains of thought, probabilities of different outputs, or even a model's actual parameters could help open the black box of neural networks for clues on how they work. Existing work. Some benchmarks already use the ideas we've presented, including ones designed by cognitive scientists. We'll showcase some using classic problems in cognitive science, but the same best practices apply to any skill. The Baby Intuitions benchmark, or BIB, compares the intuitions of infants and AIs. AIs have changed a lot since the original 2021 BIB paper, but BIB's methods showcase the power of cognitive science tools. In the paper, AIs watch moving shapes, acting as agents on a computer screen. 5-month-old infants expect an agent to reach for an object they've taken several times before, even if that object is in a new place. But the AIs tested with BIB didn't display that expectation. The authors give details about the AI's performance on specific tasks and subtasks, videos of all the trials, and examples of specific video frames where an AI succeeds or fails a trial. For another task, AIs watched agents get keys to unlock a barrier, keeping them trapped, letting them reach a goal object. Once the AI learned the agents would get the key to escape, the experimenters tested the AI on 3 similar scenarios. One had a locked barrier trapping the goal instead of the agent, one had a way around the locked barrier, and one had no barrier. In all 3 cases, the AI predicted the agent would go straight for its goal, ignoring the key. Using their more valid tests with well-reported results, the researchers could deduce that the AI didn't generalize its knowledge to the new layout. BIB's original AI subject.
Maybe. SecMILF tripped AutoMod. It will not trip AutoMod again. I got nothing. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe it didn't generalize to going to get the key to get the goal. But what up, T1? Nemesis. Maybe the AI was able to extrapolate that the goal was the goal and not the key was the goal, that the key was a tool to get the goal, in which case going to get the goal was the goal, and that's what the AI expected it to do. Right? The only need for the key is to unlock the door to get to the goal. If you don't need the key, then you don't need the key.
Objects were convolutional neural nets, basically image predictors. Today's LLMs would certainly fare better. Still, BIB is a good example of a rigorous benchmark that helps us make hypotheses and inferences about the AIs we're studying. Another good test is CogBench.
I'm a lot of streamers' favorite place to hang out for a little bit before they either go live or go watch whoever starts at 8 that they all seem to enjoy.
A collection of 7 classic human cognitive psychology experiments adapted for large language models. With just these few questions, researchers have found that AIs trained using human feedback behave more like humans do in these experiments. One more example is Animal AI, a simulated environment for an AI to interact with, containing cognitive tests like those used for animals. They test skills like navigation,
Yes, Chef. Funny that.
object permanence, delayed gratification, tool use, and numerosity, the ability to tell how many objects there are somewhere. AIs may be a new kind of intelligence, but we don't have to reinvent the whole field of cognitive science from scratch. And we don't have time to. AIs are getting smarter incredibly quickly. We need to take the task of measuring their capabilities very seriously and have good tests ready well before we expect AIs to actually get good scores on them. And beyond measuring them, understanding the way AIs think is a critical step on the path to AI alignment. The more tools we have available to do this, the better we can prepare for the future. Cognitive science might just help us avoid catastrophe. If you're interested to learn more and try to help, our top recommendation is for viewers to take the AI safety courses by Blue Dot Impact at AISafetyFundamentals.com. The courses consist of a selection of readings curated by experts in AI safety. They're totally free, and you can just read through them at your own pace. There's also a live version run remotely, where you have weekly calls with a facilitator and others doing the course. Plenty of Blue Dot alumni have gone on to work full-time in AI safety, so it's a great place to start.
Next up, Jan LeCun.
I promise you, Catherine, we're not just covering this because he's French. The headlines that we've seen over the last couple of days around his potential departure speak volumes to how important he is to AI. He's one of 3 people considered the godfathers of AI, receiving the Turing Prize along with Yoshua Bengio and Geoffrey Hinton. Born near Paris and educated at what's now the Sorbonne, he's as much an engineer and a physicist.
There's a link to the video, which should have the link to the courses in the down there part.
As he is a computer scientist, ending up at Bell Labs in New Jersey, which is a legendary lab. There he pioneered work on recognizing handwriting, which was used by banks across the world. Went via a New York university eventually in 2013 to Meta, which was at the time Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg picked him to lead their AI efforts, and he did so until for the next 5 years. In 2018, he moved to a kind of advisory but still very important role as their chief AI scientist, leading a lot of the pioneering, cutting-edge work at Meta. And we can't understate it. The work he was doing at Meta was so important to AI today, the kind of AI that we're all using, because he kind of pushed this open source, open research approach, which allowed lots of other AI companies to piggyback on the work of Meta and really led to the acceleration of AI that we're seeing today.
Now, Peter, why is he leaving now?
So we should say that this is according to media reports, but it's undoubtedly because of LeCun's change of heart when it comes to the future of artificial intelligence. He really thinks that the current all-in approach on large language models, and that's those all-consuming, data-hungry beasts that drive the like of ChatGPT today, he thinks that approach is a bit of a dead end. He'd rather be seeing everyone focusing their efforts on something called
He has thought that for ages. Maybe the entire time I've been doing this stream, right? Like, this is not a new, he didn't pivot, he didn't lose, whatever. He has never thought that LLMs were going to be the way to go, right? Like, he's been absolutely clear about that.
world models. Now, to explain, rather than feeding your AI, spoon-feeding it lots of data or text to learn from, the idea with world models is that you create an artificial virtual world, a bit like in a video game, for instance, with its own details and its own physics, and you put an AI into that world, and it starts to interact with the world around it and learn that way. So it's almost like a baby learning than it is teaching a child how to read. That's the difference there. So that's his bugbear. He wants to see the world going there. But, you know, we can't not look at the politics of this as well. He was obviously quite uncomfortable, increasingly uncomfortable at Meta, which was taking a sort of bit of a right-wing swing under Mark Zuckerberg, given the rise of Trumpism. When I interviewed LeCun at the Paris AI Summit back in February, I asked him about Mark Zuckerberg's recent comments that more masculine energy was needed in AI. Take a listen.
No. Not at all.
That doesn't come into it.
Absolutely not. No, I mean, the best way to make progress is you have, a small team of talented people. You give them a long leash, the means to succeed, and you let them invent the thing that needs to be invented without necessarily having a lot of time pressure, to produce products. I mean, you need to do that as well, but you don't get breakthroughs by directing large teams. You get that by, doing research, letting people invent completely new things.
Hints there that he was desperate to have a smaller, more agile team than the one he found at Meta, perhaps, Catherine.
Now, has the world been reacting to this news?
Well, yes, of course, there have been lots of tributes from people who respect his pioneering innovations and his championing of open source. There have also been a certain amount of gloating who see people as kind of a constant thorn in the side to the large language model status quo that we now have, and actually more gloating from people who do agree with him, but who point out that he himself used to support large language models.
And what does this mean for the future of AI?
Right, so Leclerc certainly intends on keeping his voice heard. We know this just from his spat with Anthropic, another AI company, in recent days. But whether his departure means that his view is kind of sidelined, or whether his new startup can make waves and make a difference, obviously we don't know yet. But Meta's approach might change, even more so than it already does. And because Meta is such a key linchpin, as I described, for all these other AI companies that could have reverberations, we know that Meta has spent billions of dollars hiring expensive talent to lead their new AI drive, the likes of Scale AI's Alexander Wang. Scale AI is known for their armies of people around the world labeling data. This is exactly the kind of work that Leclerc criticizes and says it's not necessary if we take a world model approach. As we know, it all depends on the whim of one man, and that's Mark Zuckerberg. And my counterpart on the French channel, Guillaume Crellet, has written all about Mark Zuckerberg's change of tack in the last few years in his book Pioneer. I couldn't help but plug that one for us. Give it a read. It's a remarkable account of Meta's transformation.
Today on Forbes.
Next up, AI stocks are rallying. Gold is record high. Here's why the entire market may crash. What up, Tenacious Lead? It has been a lot, but I don't know if it was nice, but it's been good.
It's not just an AI bubble. Here's everything at risk. Asset bubbles give off a scent. Stocks far outpace earnings. Junk debt looks gold-plated. But no matter how good the rally feels, eventually skepticism arises. The question is whether the smoke alarm is chirping from a dead battery or fire.
Nice
The S&P
reference.
500, as of last week, sat at 6,700, nearly double what it was 5 years ago. The Magnificent Seven tech titans are the rocket fuel. They account for nearly 40% of the index, and they're placing trillion-dollar bets that AI rewires the world. It's not just frothy stocks. Gold is near record highs, as is coffee. Bitcoin, the ultimate risk-on asset, is up more than 130% since it was packaged into exchange-traded funds in January 2024. Amid bidding wars, home prices rise further out of reach for buyers. Even junk bonds trade as if nothing can go wrong. Economist John Kenneth Galbraith wrote that bubbles form the same way every time. A new idea casts a spell. Credit expands. Prices rise. Everyone feels smarter. Then crack. Reality bites, and it all comes crashing down. Galbraith argued the real fuel isn't credit, it's boundless hope and fleeting memory. Each generation convinces itself that this time is different. Nobody rings a bell at the top, of course, and trusted detectors can sound false alarms.
What up, Froggy? It's bait for the YouTube. I bait the YouTube people. Because again, if you go to my YouTube page and you go to my YouTube shorts, any video, any short on Ed Zitron has There's some real interesting folks commenting.
The yield curve was inverted from June 2022 to August 2024. That usually portends recessions within 24 months. By that rule, the slowdown should have started already. Yet investors who sold on the signal missed the second strongest start to a rally in half a century. You can blame AI for that too. Deutsche Bank says without spending on AI infrastructure, the US would already be in recession. That's one reason why this market feels off. Perhaps that's why gold is near a record high, something that rarely happens alongside.
They do be angry, they mad at my AI shorts. What up, Littlefinger?
Rising stocks. One reflects optimism, the other fear. It could just be a market hedging its bets. Or maybe it's a sign some investors have been smelling smoke before the rest of us. Here are some of the smoke alarms to watch. The Cape-Shiller ratio. The CAPE ratio, created by Nobel Prize-winning economist Robert Shiller, compares stock prices to 10 years of inflation-adjusted earnings. It's now near 40, below the 44 peak of the internet bubble, but well above its 28 average since 1995. Gold. Inflation-adjusted gold prices have doubled since 2023, topping $4,000 an ounce for the first time. Investors are rushing to hard assets.
Yeah, nobody will take time to decide whether or not they like something. Froggy, nobody. I'm being hyperbolic. They will see that it was AI and judge accordingly, and it doesn't matter whether they would have liked it if they didn't know it was AI. It's a whole thing.
A signal that confidence in paper wealth may be thinning even as markets keep reaching new highs. Margin debt cost as a percentage of GDP. What investors pay to borrow money to buy assets now equals 0.35% of nominal GDP, the highest since at least 1995. As Jim Stack, CEO of Stack Financial Management, says, leverage doesn't cause bear markets, but it does amplify them. The S&P Cryptocurrency Index. The S&P Cryptocurrency Index has more than doubled since 2023 and is back near record highs. Once easy to ignore, crypto is now woven into mainstream finance through ETFs, making its swings more consequential for the broader market. Median home price to income ratio. Median U.S. home prices now exceed 5 times median household income, up from 4 times in the 1990s. Tight supply explains some of it, but it also suggests buyers are stretching and housing may be losing its anchor to reality. High-yield credit spread. The ICE B of A high-yield index spread shows investors accepting abnormally low premiums for riskier debt. When junk bonds trade like blue chips, it's often a sign that markets have grown complacent about the possibility of defaults. Coffee prices. Coffee futures hit $4 a pound for the first time, lifted by droughts, Trump tariffs, and inflation. Commodity spikes like this are a reminder that bubbles aren't limited to Wall Street. Morningstar PitchBook Unicorn 30 Index. The Morningstar
I swear to God, you know when you do a clip on YouTube and it or on Twitch and it gives you like that series of fucking words. That's what I heard right there. Morningstar Pittsburgh Unicorn 30 Index. What up, Textilian? Like holy shit. Passphrase, yes. This is my voice is my passphrase. Morningstar PitchBook Unicorn 30 Index.
PitchBook Unicorn 30 tracks private market heavyweights like OpenAI, SpaceX, and Stripe. It's back to all-time highs after a 50% drawdown in 2022.
Oh, no. I assume it's not made up. Morningstar is an investment company, I believe. A PitchBook has to do with pitching, business propositions, debt propositions, that kind of stuff. Unicorn is something to do with startups. I can't remember. And 30 is just the number, and the index is the index. So it keeps 30 unicorns in its pitch book, and the name of the company is Morningstar. But it was funny. And everyone who has Morningstar pitch book unicorn 30 index as your password, you probably should change that now.
AI is inflating public markets, but the unraveling may start in private ones. For full coverage, check out Brandon Kokoden's piece on Forbes.com.
On Forbes.
This is
no.
Today on
No.
Today on Forbes.
You put that.
It's not just an AI.
Stop. You put that thing right where I want it. No, it'd make a great band name, Brad. You should still do that. New AI Daily Brief, the AI scientist that does 6 months of work in a day.
AI Twitter is abuzz with a discussion of a new AI scientist that claims that it can do 6 months of work in a single day, and which it says made 7 novel discoveries in recent months. Welcome back.
What? I was told that that's impossible. It can't be did with confidence by a totally not grifter.
Back to the AI Daily Brief.
I'm not saying it's true. It's big if true.
As we sit here antsy in the Gemini 3 waiting room, there is a big discussion going on right now in the AI community about this new AI scientist called Cosmos. Now, if you spend any time in and around the AI community, you'll know that one of the big promises that all the big labs talk about all the time, and which Sam Altman from OpenAI has a particular penchant for, is the idea of AI advancing scientific research and doing so in some independent or mostly autonomous fashion. For as long as I've been paying attention to Altman's comments on AI, the scientific discovery use cases of AI have been the thing that have seemed to drive him more than any other. He wrote about this back in June in his post called The Gentle Singularity. Back then, pre-GPT-5, he wrote, "We already hear from scientists that they are 2 or 3 times more productive than they were before AI. From here on, the tools we have already built will help us find further scientific insights and aid us in creating better AI systems." He's reiterated these themes in basically every interview he's done. When asked recently about his AGI definition, he said when AI can bring completely new discoveries. And he added, "But you see all these examples now on Twitter where scientists in these different fields are saying it made a small discovery or came up with a novel approach or it figured something out." Basically acknowledging that you are seeing more and more the first glimpses of AI for scientific discovery. Perhaps this is why OpenAI's former chief product officer, Kevin Weil, began OpenAI for Science, with the goal to build an AI-powered platform for accelerating scientific discovery. And so with all this as background, I noticed, as many did over the weekend, that Altman himself had tweeted about this new announcement for a thing called Cosmos from Edison Scientific.
For those of you who were here during the video on Jan LeCun's departure from Meta and how he felt that LLMs were a dead end, more or less, and that really people should be focusing on world models, those 3 words in the middle upper of the screen seem relevant.
Sam added, "This is exciting. I expect we're going to see a lot more things like this, and it will be one of the most important aspects of AI. Congrats to the Future House team." So what is Cosmos? CEO Sam Rodriguez explained it like this. On Twitter/X, he posted, "Today we're announcing Cosmos, our newest AI scientist available to use now. Users estimate Cosmos does 6 months of work in a single day. One run can read 1,500 papers and write 42,000 lines."
How many papers do you think you could read in a single day? Is it more or less than 1,500?
lines of code. At least 79% of its findings are reproducible. Cosmos has made 7 discoveries so far, which we're releasing today, in areas ranging from neuroscience to material science and clinical genetics, in collaboration with our academic beta testers. 3 of the discoveries reproduced unpublished findings, and 4 are net new, validated contributions to the scientific literature. AI-accelerated science is here. So let's talk about what these discoveries were. As Rodriguez said, 3 of the discoveries saw Cosmos independently reproducing findings that were previously made by human scientists. In the first, they write, Cosmos reproduced a claim from a then unpublished manuscript using metabolomics data, identifying nucleotide metabolism as the dominant altered pathway in hypothermic mice brain.
That's interesting in that it could not have replicated those results from its data set if the manuscript was unpublished and that unpublished manuscript didn't make its way into the data set, right? Let's be clear. It is possible that a PDF existed and it was included in the data set.
The second discovery related to perovskite solar cells, which are a new lightweight, low-cost solar technology that has many benefits, but which is very sensitive to moisture. Cosmos confirmed that humidity during heat treatment is the key factor in how well they work and found a fatal filter point, above which a certain amount of humidity the cells fail. In the third discovery, Cosmos found the same mathematical patterns in how neurons connect across different species. Now, in the next 4 discoveries, Edison, which is the company behind Cosmos, claims that Cosmos made novel contributions to the scientific literature. The 4th discovery was that Cosmos found statistical evidence that higher levels of the enzyme SOD2 may help reduce heart tissue damage in humans, which supports earlier findings seen in mice. In the 5th discovery, Cosmos used large genetic datasets to propose a new molecular explanation for how a specific genetic variant may lower the risk of type 2 diabetes. In the 6th discovery, Cosmos created a new method to map the order of molecular changes that lead to tau buildup in Alzheimer's disease. Finally, in the 7th discovery, Cosmos found that the neurons first affected in Alzheimer's show reduced expression of flippase genes as mice age, which may make those neurons more vulnerable. Now, not being a scientist in any of these fields, I don't really have any sense of how significant these discoveries are. And obviously, now that Edison has gone public with this, I presume that lots and lots of scientists who are in these fields will go actually dig in and validate it for themselves.
And that's what should happen, right? Edison should release their papers, right? Whether they release it in archive or they release it on their website, however they do it, right? And let people verify, reproduce the results, all the shit, peer review. Let's get it done. Either you'll pass or you'll fail, and then we'll actually know where we're at.
And of course, I think it is going to be a very necessary skill as we head into the age of AI scientific discovery to be extremely skeptical of claims as a default position, even if you have no prior reason to doubt the source of those claims. We just generally need to keep our skepticism very high.
Healthy skepticism.
Still, it seems extremely, extremely promising. And so how does this work? Sam Rodriguez acknowledged that these numbers are out of sync in a positive way with previous estimates of where agentic capabilities were. In that same announcement post on X, he wrote, "We are aware that the 6-month figure is much greater than estimates by other AI labs like Meter about the length of tasks that AI agents can currently perform." So how do they do this? They write, "Our core innovation in Cosmos is the use of a structured, continuously updated world model. Cosmos's world model allows it to process orders of magnitude more information than could fit into the context of even the longest context language models, allowing it to synthesize more information and pursue coherent goals over longer time horizons than any of our prior agents." Now, one note here is, as Simon Smith points out, when I looked at the Cosmos paper, it wasn't clear what world model meant. I got the sense that it's a knowledge graph to which agents add information as they collect it, which is cool and useful, but probably not what most people mean by world model. Given that we have recently been talking about world models, I think the distinction is important. Carlos Perez tries to simplify what they have going on under the hood. He wrote, "We hear AI scientist and think it's just a chatbot that's good at summarizing Wikipedia. I was skeptical too. Most of these systems are toys. They can do a cool analysis, but they lose focus after a few steps. They can't run a real long-term investigation. The real problem wasn't raw intelligence, it was coherence. Imagine trying to write a book with 100 different people who can't see what anyone else is writing. You get a mess of disconnected paragraphs. That's what previous AI agents were like. brilliant but hopelessly siloed. So the team behind Cosmos didn't just try to build a smarter brain, they built a shared consciousness. They call it a structured world model, which sounds complex, but the idea is genius. Think of it like a giant live updating whiteboard. Cosmos unleashes hundreds of AI agents in parallel. One reads scientific papers, another analyzes data. When an agent finds something, it puts it on the whiteboard. Crucially, every other agent can see the whole board. Now, for those of you who've been following along for a while, this sounds to me a bit like Doctor Strange, but for scientific research, where you spin up a lot of instances of a thing doing similar work so that it can in aggregate outperform. Nico McCarty writes, the general idea is that science follows a series of steps and that many of these steps can be automated. Those steps are search the literature, read stuff, use your reading to come up with new hypotheses, try to draw connections between things, analyze data to draw conclusions, write up your results, repeat. He continues, Cosmos uses two separate agents, one for data analysis, another for literature searches, to go out and do these tasks while sharing information with each other. The agents can then see what the other agents...
Yes. And we're in that space again where we're using human meat words to describe what silicon intelligence is doing. The words are wrong. But as we've discussed before, all models, right, when we're trying to describe something or, what have you, all models are wrong, but useful, right? Or a model should be useful. World Star, and I think that's what we're seeing here. I don't know if world model is actually what they have going on here in the same sense that everyone's definition of artificial intelligence, real AI, varies based on whatever criteria you have in your own brain. Their use of the term world model may be a specific thing that they are using within their space, which may not be the same thing that Jan LeCun is referring to. And consciousness, collective consciousness, is not the same thing that you probably thought when you heard those words come out of his mouth. So, it's like hallucinate. The AIs do not hallucinate by any meaningful sense of that word. It is the word that people use, and contextually, you have to choose the other definition, right? Like, we do that all the time with words as it is. We will, based on the use of a particular word in a particular context, we will know this is definition 1 where it refers to this thing, or definition 2 where it refers to something that's not the same as the first thing.
have learned, which is super useful. They exist within a single world model. A single run of Cosmos can execute up to 42,000 lines of code across 166 different data analysis agents, and also read 1,500 scientific papers using 36 literature review agents. Each run takes up to 12 hours. So that's the gist. You spin this thing up, give it a huge prompt, and then let it cook. Now, it is important to note that even the team themselves don't think that things are perfect. First of all, they say, you have to know how to use it, and it's much closer to a deep research tool. It's pricey at $200 a run. And they point out, while Cosmos certainly does produce outputs that are the equivalent of several months of human labor, it also often goes down rabbit holes or chases statistically significant yet scientifically irrelevant findings.
So, it's just like us for real.
Point out, we often run Cosmos multiple times on the same objective in order to sample the various research avenues it can take. Which brings up one of the interesting questions. In that same post from Nico, he wrote, I'm not wholly convinced that the idea of extremely long runs will be palatable to most biology researchers. My take is that researchers are looking for more of a real-time collaborator, where you're constantly prompting and getting immediate feedback, rather than just delegating huge open-ended tasks to agents. Now, this harkens to me to the conversation that I had with Swix a couple weeks ago about the autonomy spectrum when it comes to coding agents. One of the things that we are figuring out from a user experience expectation standpoint across all these different domains of AI uses is to what extent people want really fast real-time collaboration versus agents that go off and do things on their own. That balance is going to be a toggle and a spectrum, and it's not exactly clear for different use cases what the optimal combination is going to be. Andrew White, another
I think it's not a toggle, it's a dial, right? It's a spectrum. You're going to want, if I'm going to assign a task to an AI and some agents for 12 hours, right, for instance, I should not be sitting around with my Schwartz in my hand, fucking not doing anything. I should be doing something. And there, having a collaborative agent where I can work on aspects of it and then have the AI with the agents report back to me at the end of that. And then we compare our results and we move forward from that new point. Like we were talking earlier, where, you know, when you individually are using a chatbot individually and you take the most best results out of that conversation and start a new conversation. But instead of just individually, you're doing it with multiple actors, right? Yourself, some real-time agents over here, and some long-term agents over there. That makes the most sense to me, right? Because that's how real science, given my understanding, is done. You know, you don't know what, I don't know what Reading Rab Labs is working on today, you know, but they all of a sudden release a paper about whatever, and that's relevant to my interests, and now I have updated information because they may have already done experiments that I would have done in order to move farther down the road that I'm trying to move down on. That's what the assign a task and let it run kind of agents equate to, more or less, where the agents that work alongside you, those are the ones like you and other people, but without the other people involved.
their co-founder of Edison Scientific, responded to that and said, "Love the pushback on autonomy versus interaction. It's something we struggle with internally. It's cost prohibitive right now, but I would rather run 10 Cosmos jobs and then choose or edit the analysis I like, rather than agonizingly try to tell an agent exactly what to do." Now, what about the claims of the 6-month estimate? In their blog post, they write, "The most surprising part of our work on Cosmos was finding that a single Cosmos run can accomplish work equivalent to 6 months of a PhD or postdoctoral scientist. Moreover, the perceived work equivalency scales linearly with the depth of the Cosmos run, providing one of the first inference time scaling laws for scientific research." They say that they were skeptical when they first got the results, but then share why they think it's valid. So, how did the methodology for collecting this actually work? Basically, this comes from estimates obtained from polling Cosmos' beta users. The beta users would give the team a research objective, they would run Cosmos for them, give them the outputs, and then poll them on how much time.
Chef, again, I think that neurotypical, neurodivergent are not good words necessarily to apply to the AI, but anecdotally speaking, my neurodivergent friends and, you know, folk that I hang out with in meat space, right, and their kids and whatnot like that, they tend to have a better relationship with the AI and how it works and everything else than the more neurotypical type people. It's anecdotal, it's not evidence, but it's interesting.
Time they estimated it would have taken them to come to the same conclusion. They write the average across 7 scientists was 6.14 months for a 20-step Cosmos run. Of course, they point out human estimates of time saved are intrinsically suspect. And Nico has an issue here as well. Nico writes, "The paper tries to quantify the time it would take for a human scientist to complete the work that Cosmos performs, but I find it a bit hand-wavy."
I mean, you know, like how far? Like, is there stuff you could do with these tools that keep coming out, right? Like, I don't know what you're going to be into, but, you know, strike while the iron is hot and all that.
They say it takes a typical researcher 15 minutes to read a paper and 2 hours to write a Jupyter notebook for data analysis, and since Cosmos can read 1,500 papers per run, it offers huge time savings. But, he continues, human scientists don't need to read hundreds of pages to make a discovery. The best scientists have an innate ability to triangulate to innovation, find the right combo of papers and discussions that enable them to make conceptual advances. this seems difficult to replicate. The team at Cosmos agrees, at least in part.
I mean, I'm trying to imbue this knowledge and all the things that I have learned so that some of you, because if I knew what I know now 20 years ago, I would be in an entirely different position. You know what I mean? For better and worse, right? Like, there are advantages to going down the path that I went down, and I have no regrets in that regard. But that being said, I'm finally at the point where, like, I would expect to have been happy in the normie sense of the word regarding how all things are going. Yeah, no, it's cool.
Writing, human estimates of time saved are intrinsically suspect. However, they point to 2 reasons they think that Cosmos's work packages do actually equate to months of scientists' time. The first are the 3 to...
So what I'm trying to say is learn from me and leapfrog off of that. Do science to it, right? Like, learn what I have to tell you and then go do better. And don't wait till you're my age. Try to learn the things now and shit.
discoveries that had been previously made but unpublished by humans. And the second was independent time estimates, which got that single paper 15 minutes piece. Now, whether you think all of those numbers add up to exactly the right metric, again, I think it's fine to be...
Also, Reed, I don't know if you saw it in the Discord. I'm going to post it. Do science, be crime, do gay. Yes, all of that. I'm going to repost it again here. Because all of a sudden, out of the fucking blue, I got a Twitch live thing for the homie who apparently popping off on TikTok. Popping off on the TikToks. Barely anybody in their Twitch chat. 52,000 followers on the TikTok. W fucking Greg. Friend of the channel, has appeared multiple times to have conversations. Good looking fucking dude. Got a great voice for it. The whole night, the whole package. Super smart, good looking, sounds great. Go check out the homie Greg on your favorite platforms. And give them a follow on Twitch and all that good stuff.
Be skeptical. But there's clearly something powerful going on here and progress being made. Computational biologist Zachary Flamholtz wrote about his use of the tool. His conclusion?
He's already married. I'm sorry, he's a good looking dude. I don't know what to tell you.
It is an understatement to say that I was impressed with what Cosmos did. From the well-structured discovery report, it was obvious that Cosmos understood my research question on par with my own understanding. This was new for me and AI tools. Previously, I used this research question to test other commercially available chatbots, and none have sufficiently understood my question with the correct nuance and scientific context to advance my understanding of the question, let alone do work on the problem. The last paragraph reads, I'm writing this post and starting this blog because my experience with Cosmos is causing me to reimagine what my career will look like. Until now, commercial AI tools have been an efficiency multiplier for which I am very grateful. But Cosmos is different. The scientific enterprise will remember November 5th, 2025. Stay tuned. Big words, of course, but very interesting stuff. You can find out more about Cosmos at edisonscientific.com, and certainly I think that this will be a theme that we keep coming back to. For now, that's going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief. Appreciate you listening or watching as always, and until next time, peace.
I spent time this week with...
Excuse me. All right. No, it just came out and it's super expensive. No, either a hydrant, organelle or organoid, they're both used in the context. I don't think any of us would have a particular use case for it. It's $1 per minute, I think it was. It's like $200 per run. which I assume is going to be well outside your any of our, when I say your, budget. And if it's not, then you should be gifting more subs in chat. I understand. I'm just talking about the way that yes, everything is confusing, Hydran. Everything is confusing. Everything is confusing and weird, and I'm cold. The run was the 6 hours. Or I'm sorry, 12 hours of which equated to 6 months of scientific research. But yeah. All right. It's been a minute since we talked to Nate. Nate's gonna give us the rundown here. A one-time 650 credit welcome bonus. Hey, that's nice. I mean, if any of you do use it, by all means, let us know. I summarized Google's 50-page AI agent paper plus Vercel's AI agent doc in 8 minutes.
3 dramatically different documents about agents, and I want to bring you the synthesis that matters for you. So, number 1 was Google's 50-page introduction to agents white paper. I have seen
Nate's got merch. Nate has merch.
that traded around a lot. I have not seen it read a lot, because if you read it, you would know there's a lot in there to unpack and it's not all obvious. Number 2 is Vercel's What We Learned About Building Agents, which is shorter, but really focused on practical field applications. I loved it. And of course, there's Anthropic's report.
Oh, and the fucking Philip K. Dick shirt from Damien's fucking sci-fi channel was a limited run.
On the agentic hack by
I like each of them for their own reason. I like a lot about ChatGPT for the different, like the custom GPTs and all those kind of things, and the fact that my one friend uses ChatGPT exclusively, so I understand its idiosyncrasies a little bit better and we can have a conversation about it. I'm sorry to hear about that. Pro Panda Plays. Can't hear nothing either. That's is Cloudflare still down? Cloudflare was down this morning? Was that a thing? Like, holy shit, again? But yeah, I use Gemini generally. Hey, buddy. Oh, there he is. Yeah. Oh. Hello, Moose. Hello, Moosey, my old friend. I've come to hang with you again. I saw that, old lobster. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. You want snacks? Snack break. And that's fair enough. You should not be paying for anything that does not bring you joy. Gemini is getting dumber. That's a bold claim. Cosmic, if you're still here, Marmalade Wizard time. And the vision that was planted in my brain still remains. Echoes in the sounds. Snackos. It's now having problems ingesting documents, saying please upload the document which you clearly just uploaded. Oh, I wonder if that has anything to do with the new model eating up. Hey, welcome in, Pro Panda Plays. Eating up the compute or anything else like that. Basically, I would reserve judgment until, like a month from now. That could definitely do it, Pro Panda. All right, back to Nate.
Code. What do these have in common? I mean, it's AI agents, but really to me, they represent a competing vision and a battle over the future of AI agents that I think we need to talk about. Google really laid out an idealist.
Some people do vibe coding. Some people do coding with a coding assistant. Some people do no vibe coding at all. Hey, fires.
A utopian vision for AI agents that I
don't frighten away new people, Old Lobster. Kappa might be implied.
Do not see companies actually implementing in 2025. I get where they're going. It is part of Google's job to lay out the vision of the future. And Google feels really prophetic this week because when they published that white paper, it was right after the Claude Code hack news broke. And one of the key learnings in the Claude Code hack news is that we cannot depend on model layer security. We have to go to orchestration. What is Google all about in this white paper? They're all about orchestration. They basically are saying, if you get serious about agents, you are going to have to solve the orchestration problem at scale. And they're absolutely correct. But it is really, really hard to do that well. And that is why we need this kind of advanced thinking. Because right now I got...
Oh, yeah, the LUL emote doesn't work in this chat. That's correct.
To say, most organizations getting ROI are doing much simpler things with agents, which is exactly where Vercel comes in. Vercel comes in, and their focus is entirely on how can we get practical value out of AI agents at work. We're not writing a 50-page white paper. We are just trying...
I just met you. This is crazy. Here's my number. Call me maybe.
To get to tomorrow and get to good ROI, which is where like 99% of businesses are. And you know what they do? They go through their back office operations. This is alarmingly simple, but I love it. They go through and they talk to the people actually doing the work. And they say, where are you doing something that is completely verifiable, that is just obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks, and it's toil. Like you don't like it. It causes suffering. Well, let's take it away. And that's what they're doing. They are focused on building AI agents that let their best people in back office operations do more stuff they care about and less stuff they don't. And so they tackled sort of ticket triage for customer service, which is never fun for anybody. And then their customer service people are on higher value tasks, things that allow them to bring their best to the business. And this is what I keep emphasizing is AI agents need to weave around us as people in the workplace. I loved the focus Vercel had here because it reminds us that people matter, that people have to touch the work for the work to really have the value we can bring from long context, from the kind of understanding over time that people bring that AI doesn't. And that's what Vercel did. Now, Google, don't walk away from this and think Google had no value in that 50-pager. It was not just LLM AI slop. It was really thoughtful. And what they laid out, and the thing that I want you to take away, is that at core, if you think of an agent as a loop, if it's thinking, acting, and observing over and over and over again, the agent's only real job is context window curation. It just needs to curate the context.
Oh, since I have a bunch of you here tomorrow, I initially said I was going to stream Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Tomorrow, being Wednesday, has been moved to a maybe. It will depend on how all things come together. Thursday is a definite. Saturday is a definite, but tomorrow is it's 50-50 how it's all going to shake out. Excuse me. And Saturday, I'm also going to be swapping out a bathroom exhaust fan and installing a moisture sensing switch. So I'll let you know how all that goes.
Text window and pass it along. That's it. And so, as funny as it sounds, it's kind of like The Simpsons. The model of an agent is a brain in a jar. And when you think of a model that way, it means that you value the orchestration platform around it appropriately. And that is what Google is calling out. And I guarantee you that is going to be a massive point of emphasis, especially after the Claude Code hack. So the orchestration platform decides what tools the model can call, what data it can see, how long its plans can run, when to stop, when to escalate, when to ask a human. And once you understand that, everything else gets clear, because agentic operations is that orchestration platform. It's just making sure that you can actually track what the agents are doing, understand the cost they're incurring, understand the traces of their run, so you see issues that come up. And then when you step back and you want to do multi-agent system design in Google's vision, it becomes a matter of just understanding where the human is, installing these loop patterns in ways that reinforce context window curation, so the human gets fed the right context, the subsequent agents get fed the right context, and it's very clean. There is no single God agent in Google's model, and in most practical multi-agent systems, there isn't, because that would require too much context for one agent. It would break. And I love that clarity, because that means that the future of agents is decentralized. Security reminds us, and this is a key insight that I think we need to take.
Well, the good thing, Cos, is that if you are turned into a servitor, you'll never know.
Take away from the Claude Code hack, we need to treat agents as first-class identities. We need to give agents roles, budgets, personas, policies. We need to assume that they have levels of privilege and are treated in our technical systems and our roles-based access controls as if they were a semi-autonomous employee. So not an employee, but autonomous enough that they could cause damage, which is absolutely true after the Claude Code hack. So I love the clarity there. Google's paper also emphasized, and I think this just makes anyone who's ever done sales happy. They emphasized control panes, and everyone loves the vision of the glowing control board. In my experience, you don't use it as often as you sell on it, but everyone loves it. And the reality is, Google's kind of right. If you end up with hundreds of agents in 2026, you're going to want some kind of control pane, and you're going to want some thinking around that. And Google's done us a service.
Pane, P-A-N-E, not P-A-I-N.
Service by giving us that thinking. So in Google's world, agents are not toys. Agents are going to be our peers focused on services and employees within our architecture. And we are going to be delegating tasks to them, and the orchestration platform itself will ensure that they are operating in a safe.
I just had a thought. The joke inside of the Jetsons, like there was an episode where George comes home and Jane asks him how work was, and George says, "It was exhausting. I pushed the button 7 times today." That is the AI agents asking the human. And then George has to push the button to make that decision.
Manner. That is the kind of productive, positive, security-first thinking that we need after the Claude Code hack. I think it's perfect timing that they dropped it then. I actually don't think they intentionally did it. This is just one of those nice coincidences. But we still live in the now. We still live in today. And Vercel helps us with today. Because to be honest, Vercel has not done all of this on the orchestration platform side. Almost nobody has. And so Vercel reminds us that if you're building agents today, your job is to solve problems that reduce toil, solve problems that are verifiable, solve problems where the inputs and outputs are known, and just go after them relentlessly. And it's low-hanging fruit. you can get value out of that. And that's what I love about Vercel sharing. In a sense, they are zagging while the industry zigs. It would have been very easy for Vercel to publish a high-sounding visionary manual like Google's 50-page AI agent white paper. Super easy. It would have sounded great. They would have gotten lots of shares on LinkedIn, I'm sure. But they didn't do that. They actually shared what worked. They shared how they actually built it. And I deeply respect that. And we need that perspective, because as much as it's nice to see some advanced thinking from a leader in the industry about where agents are going, we need the practical application. We need to know that we can get agents to do specific back office operations now, so we can earn our way to a world where we have orchestration platforms that actually manage hundreds of agents, to this vision of the agent city that Google is laying out. So if you were wondering how to get started with agents, Vercel points the way. Just start with simple, clean back office operations that are tedious. And if you're wondering where we're going, look at the Google white paper. We are going to have to lean really hard into the orchestration platform to counteract the risk posed by the Claude Code hack this week. Good luck with agents. I hope this gives you a sense of, 1, how much is changing, 2, how competing the visions are, and 3, where to focus next. Good luck.
I didn't get to play any of the Max Payne games, and now I think it's too late. Up next, the biggest mystery of LLMs have just been solved.
When you are using AI chatbots, you might have seen this parameter that has a slider between 0 and 1 called temperature. The common explanation for this parameter is that if
that's a variation on the mushroom joke that I heard. I think Old Lobster put it in, or Larry. And then Cursed AI turned it into a little AI cartoon. Yes.
If you want the AI to be more creative, put it at 1, and if you want it to have a more consistent answer, put it at 0. But what this temperature value ultimately entails is that as the LLMs are predicting the next token, where it will have a probability distribution over all available tokens, this temperature parameter would inform the model what strategy to use when picking from all this list of tokens. So if your temperature is 0,
so again, we're talking about limiting probabilities.
it'll force the model to be greedy and always pick the token with the highest probability. Then you might think that if we set the model temperature to 0 every time when we run the model with the same exact prompt, the model should always give us the same exact answer. Well, technically, it should actually do that, just like how when we run a computer program, it should always get the same result. But in reality, even if you constrain all possible randomness, because of how big LLMs are and how they are served efficiently to the users, there are more than one factors that will stop the LLMs from being consistent. This then gives an illusion that LLMs are not deterministic, or at least is what we assumed what's happening. That is until the ex-OpenAI CTO Mira Murati's new AI lab called Thinking Machines, where they published their first ever research blog called Defeating Non-Determinism in LLM Inference, written by Horace He, aims to address this non-determinism attribute in LLMs while exploring and explaining the intricate details that affects the consistency of LLMs. But before we dive into it, if you are building a website for a business, there's nothing else that can help you roll out faster than Framer. No need to bounce between designers, engineers, and marketing, while you can still put out a professional website. It's built in a way so you can design, launch, localize, and optimize an entire site without touching code at all. You get CMS, A/B testing, analytics, staging environments, role-based access control, SSL, and DDoS protection all in one place. And this is not your typical no-code website builder too. Framer powers sites like Perplexity, Miro, Superhuman, and a bunch of YC startups. Your marketing team can literally run the site without needing to bother the engineering team while looking this good. In Framer, the canvas is the website. The interface feels like Figma, so design and build happen in the same place and in real time. There's no handoff, no rebuild in code, and no lag. You design the page, wire up CMS content, connect forms, hit publish, and that's it. Your landing page is live. I also built one myself a while ago, and it's actually that easy, including adding the animations too. So if you're ready to build a site that looks hand-coded without hiring a developer, you can launch your site for free now at framer.com and use code BuyCloud for a free month on Framer Pro. And thank you, Framer, for sponsoring this video. Anyways, when I first thought about the reason why LLMs would be non-deterministic, my reaction was that maybe it is because of all the parallelism that the GPUs need to make the model run faster, which causes some low-level floating
No, I just like I went to fire it up the first time, and I'm pretty sure I had a pirate copy on PC, and I ran into some kind of issue, and I just never was able to get back to it to play it. And yeah, now I could theoretically. However, I have all the other games that I want to play. In addition to the other older games that I would like to play, like Shadows of Mordor and all that.
Point in precision, resulting in a non-deterministic machine. Take GPU's atomic add operation for example. If you have 6 operations that need to be done at the same time.
Brad, I am seriously white-knuckling not buying any more games until I have some kind of time in which to play games, right? I'm not playing anything right now. That's the thing. If I'm lucky, I get in like a game of Wingspan or something short, right? Something ended, right? Like where I can play for like 15, 20 minutes, half hour, something like that. I could be playing games right now, but instead I chose to spend it with you.
Time, it would make sense to spread it across 6 GPU cores simultaneously, right? And if you run this process 10 times or 100 times, each of the 6 GPU cores may all finish differently. So when you need to accumulate them together, the order is not guaranteed to always be the same, creating a non-deterministic system.
What up, Nemesis?
But the funny thing is, during LLM inference, the GPUs don't actually need to run methods like atomic add, and most of the contention can be completely avoided, making it not
I don't know, Reed. Like, I set up a gaming stream with Redolent Thought, Girl with Gun, and Jason Society. Jason ended up not showing up. I had a good time playing with Red and Girl, and then that was it. And then the Cult of the New kicked in, and they're off playing whatever they're playing. Red plays spoopy games and or weird Chinese drama games. And Girl with Gun is playing Battlefield, I think, at the moment.
The root cause of temp zero variation in LLM outputs. So LLMs shouldn't be.
Someday, I think the only other person in this community who plays it is Big Ben. Crusader Kings 3 multiplayer. I would love to do that, but
non-deterministic at all. That is until you zoom out and see the bigger picture. The real non-deterministic component is not from the software nor the hardware. It's from us, the humans. Whenever you enter something into ChatGPT, your request would be sent to a server containing the model hosted by OpenAI. And in actual production, servers would pack requests together to process them more efficiently. So for example, at precisely 10 a.m., you send a request with no one else arriving in the next 10 millisecond window, then the server would only process your request through the model. And in the next minute, you send another request with the same exact prompt, with the same temperature and seed, but this time there are 15 other.
And I just think, Nemesis, that like a good big strategy game with a handful of streamers, like if I could get 10 people to play Crusader Kings 3 on stream, talking shit for charity, for like a 12-hour charity stream, right? Something like that. I think it would be fun. But
people that also sent their request.
I have to do all the work. I have to find everybody. I have to get them all on the bus. I have to get them and you know, the whole fucking thing.
Within the same 10 milliseconds window as you. What would happen here is that the 10 a.m. request with only your prompt would.
I don't know how much it's today, Chef, but every so often, like every couple few months, they offer for $15 because they want you to buy the new whatever the new DLC is. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, Reed, you know what I'm talking about. You did that. But yeah, you can usually, if you just wait for a sale, every few months they put it on sale for $15 for the new DLC.
Run at a batch of 1, but the 10:01 AM request would run at a batch of 16, completely changing the batch dimension. But why would that be a problem? Well, that is because the kernel's calculation strategies are batch variant. For context, a kernel is a tiny, highly optimized program that runs on the GPU to do one specific math task on a chunk of data. So as the batches are very different now,
I now know what a kernel is. I never actually asked, and now I know.
the kernels would have to switch strategies to stay efficient so it keeps all the GPU parts used. However, switching strategies are not the key problem that causes the non-determinism, but something that's on the lower level is. In computers' floating point operations, tiny changes in the reduction order of how partial sums are combined could lead to tiny rounding differences. So unlike how we look at basic arithmetic,
oh, that's not what a kernel is? Maybe it's a kernel in this particular context and it's context determinate.
Where we would expect the answers to be the same on both sides, in hardware's floating point arithmetic, things would interact a bit differently because of how it rounds after each operation. For example, in 32...
So I guess I don't know what a kernel is. It was... EL.
bits, 10 to the power of 8 plus 1 minus 10 to the power of 8 can result in completely different values depending on where you put the parentheses or which part of the calculation you calculate first. So tiny changes in the reduction order like this can change which bits get rounded away first. And because of varying sizes, different kernel strategies would be used, like different tile sizes, use split K or split KV to spread a reduction across more cores, break down short queries to process it even faster, or handle cached or fresh tokens separately. Most of the time, these inconsistent values created by the process are harmless, but eventually they could pollute through the layers, and a few hundred tokens later, tipping over a temperature 0 greedy argmax.
That sounds like what he was referring to, though, Reed.
From picking one token to another, creating a domino effect that lets the model generate a completely different sentence even when all the obvious sampling or seeding are constrained. So to be batch invariant, they would need to prevent the GPU from using different kernel strategies and have a fixed reduction order due to how it will round numbers up differently. While fixing the reduction order removes the kernel's freedom to pick the fastest and the most optimal strategy for the kernel, since you are giving up some load balancing and leave the hardware underutilized, it still guarantees reproducibility. And to be honest, the underutilization sometimes may not even be that big of a deal unless you are serving the model at a super large scale. But anyways, a deterministic mode can indeed be created, which is very good for reproducing evaluation, as it is pretty needed in this day and age where everyone is benchmark maxing. So LLM's non-deterministic property isn't about some uncontrollable and pure GPU randomness emerging from parallel computing. It's actually the interaction of batching requests where the kernels would need to use different calculation strategies to achieve hardware efficiency that will result in different reduction order, creating a numerical shift that will affect the greedy argmax and affecting the
What up, Ben? We were just talking about you and how having a CK3 charity stream, 12-hour charity stream with a bunch of streamers would be cool, and also incredibly problematic to try and set up.
Consistency of the output. So if you can have kernels to be batch invariant, then the output with temperature of 0 would repeat across all different runs even as server load varies. And this is what the researchers proved at Thinking Machines. They proposed batch invariant attention, and in their experiment, they ran Quen3235B A22B instruct at temperature 0 on the prompt "Tell me about Richard Feynman," sampling 1000 tokens for 1000 completions. With a standard stack, they still got 80 distinct completions. The most common one appeared 78 times, and the first divergence showed up at token 103, indicating that this is the first tipping point of the effects from the reduction order. And after swapping in batch invariant kernels, all 1000 out of 1000 completions were identical, which just proved their theory. To have this kind of determinism,
it may have proved their theory, right? Reproducibility is a thing again, but
there is still some sort of sacrifice in speed. They tested it on a single GPU VLLM server with Qwen3AB, generating 1000 sequences of around 100 tokens. Comparing the deterministic build of the kernels to using VLLM, the slowdown is nearly 2.1 times longer, with an optimized method able to pull it lower, reducing it down to 1.61 times. And surprisingly, other than making evaluations more reproducible, the researchers also found out that batch invariant inference could improve training in an unexpected way. In typical pipelines, the model you inference and sample from doesn't produce exactly the same output as the model you train with. For example, the inference stack of the model would be using VLM with KV cache plus dynamic batching, and the training stack would not have KV cache and a dynamic batching problem. But these differences trigger different kernels and ultimately different reduction orders, causing the policy, aka the
yes, I would not buy CK3 full price. I would put it in my wish list and wait for one of their sales. Again, they happen frequently.
model that generate the actions is not the same identical model that trains on the lost signal from the action. The logic is kind of like when you broke something but you blame it on your younger brother, so he's the one that's getting yelled at. This means you are subtly off policy, basically learning from a different model that's only
is the one on Game Pass compatible with the one on Steam for PC? Because I have it on my PlayStation and I have it on PC. I have it on both things. And they're slightly different games, you know what I mean? And I'm not sure if it's cross platform. I don't think it's cross platform at all because it's slightly different games. So
a tiny bit different from you. So batch invariant inference basically solves this. It makes the sampler use consistent kernels when there are different batching or other setups, and the inference model will use the exact same batch invariant.
The last time I played CK3, I was on a kick of making immortals, which is something you can do, and it's an in-game thing, but it's definitely like a hack. And I did a unlanded immortal, and I had a little band that I eventually got up to like 3,000 warriors, and then it locked up, right? Time is ticking, but nothing is happening in the game. And that annoyed the shit out of me.
Intention to prevent different reduction order to appear. So the model that is being sampled and the model that is being trained on should match properly and have the RL update truly be on policy, which should train much more smoothly. Fascinating, isn't it? This is one of the most interesting LM debugging or debunking posts.
Yeah, Nemesis. I mean, yeah, but it's probably the Xbox version of the game running on Windows, as opposed to the PC version of the game running on Windows, which I thought might be the problem. Some games do it, like usually first-person shooters and shit like that, but for strategy games, I imagine that's going to be more challenging.
I've read in a while, because finding out why must have been extremely hard, and the researchers over at Thinking Machines really made a cool discovery here. So with this and their other recent research blog posts, they have already become one of my favorite research labs. The quality has been amazing and the topics of the problems is just so interesting. I will definitely be covering their other research blog posts in the future, so subscribe to stay tuned. And shout out to Caleb Writes Code for helping me with this video while I'm away. He also makes great AI explainers, and you should definitely
Caleb writes code. Why AI isn't a bubble. You got a link to Caleb writes code? There you are.
Here's why I think AI is not in a bubble. A lot of people balk at the price point of $500 billion for OpenAI and nearly $200 billion for Anthropic and xAI, but valuation alone doesn't give us a full picture on why we are in an AI bubble. The first indicator that we go to is revenue, and OpenAI is barely bringing in $15 billion and much less for Anthropic and xAI. There seems to be a huge disconnect between the revenue that they're bringing in and the crazy valuation that these companies are getting from venture capital.
Whiteboard with lots of fucking crazy shit on it, I'm in.
But unlike more recent bubbles that we've seen, like the dot-com bubble and subprime mortgage in the 2000s, funding in pure play AI is mostly done by venture capitalists and private investors. And they know that when they're investing into these companies, more than half their money is going to go straight towards building out multi-gigawatts of training centers and data centers that will take years to finish, let alone get their money back as an investor. In other words, there's no external lever that will force them to sell their position, since most of the funding is made as an exchange for equity as a shareholder rather than debt, fully knowing that these AI frontier companies are making a huge bet when it comes to building out and expanding their infrastructure.
See, Ben, now I'm looking, right? I'm looking at the, the way that this particular laptop stand sets on the desk, and I'm looking at the interaction of the arm with the desk. And is this like a green screen shot, or is this the actual room? And there's a green wall here. Shout out accent wall. My man's got an accent wall. I'm still in.
And that's the critical point. Frontier labs like OpenAI are making a huge bet, no doubt about it. And the bet is that intelligence is going to get better and better, and the price to pay at each level of intelligence that we unlock is going to be loosely bound by the scaling law to some extent, which means to go from, let's say, a high school level intelligence to a PhD level intelligence, we're going to need more compute. And if we project that out more into someone who's been in the industry for 20 years, let's say, we're going to need a lot more compute to actually support that level of intelligence. Now, to steelman this argument, we're seeing a lot of Chinese frontier labs essentially producing more intelligence with a lower cost. And we're also seeing some
or Nemesis. They thought about that when they were setting it up. If he could touch the desk, it would make me happy.
Experts in the AI industry saying that LLMs have reached their limit and the path to AGI is not through LLM at all, which is why all of this infrastructure build out is a huge bet that they're making. And the thing is, not playing the game could potentially have a bigger downside than
the camera focus on the whiteboard keeps changing, and some of the words are like blurry now. So I really want to say that it is not green screen.
the risk of over-provisioning infrastructure. In other words, in fear of AI bubble, would we rather be in a position to under-provision our infrastructure, or we over-provision our infrastructure, but intelligence gets better and better? Personally speaking, I think AI has already proven itself that much, and I think people are getting impatient because AI innovation tends to move in bursts of energy rather than incremental steps, so putting an artificial limit to artificial intelligence seems to be just as speculative than the other way around. And that's not to say that the circulatory revenue that seems to be going on between AI companies are the best foundation to build our industry on. I think we can do a lot better than that, especially when we look at situations like NVIDIA buying out unused compute from CoreWeave, which then allows CoreWeave to bring in more debt to expand their operation more because they have more secured revenue coming in. And I think neoclouds in general are in a precarious situation. And we also have situations like Microsoft offering investments to OpenAI where half of that is Azure credits, which then OpenAI uses that and Microsoft could claim it as a revenue. Yeah, I think all of that could definitely be done differently. But broadly speaking, these gray areas aren't cause for industry-wide bubble concern. Another important part when it comes to the discussion on AI bubble is CapEx. In other words, someone has to pay the price in building out this infrastructure. At the end of the day, some company needs to eat up the costs and risk their balance sheet looking more red because spending tens of billions of dollars will show up as a capital expenditure. And we know that OpenAI can't front these deals because they don't have any money. So they need to court rich friends like Oracle and SoftBank to fund these operations and let them take the CapEx risk. In other words, unlike Mag 5 companies that have huge cash reserves and cash flows from their operation and can secure their own supply chain, pure play Frontier Labs cannot. They just don't have the same amount of access to capital, and their balance sheet can't take that level of capex. And even Microsoft didn't want to take on that capex risk because they're not an AI innovator like OpenAI, which means that even if they risk their capex to the tune of multi-billion dollars to scale their hyperscaler for OpenAI, they have to bank on OpenAI to last as a company and also bank on OpenAI to use their services after spending billions and billions of dollars in their hyperscaler, which is why Microsoft let OpenAI shop elsewhere for compute outside of Azure in exchange for $250 billion guaranteed spend on Azure, which is crazy. But for Mag 5 companies like Google and Meta, spending capex here is an easier choice since they not only have huge cash positions to invest into building out their hyperscalers, but they also innovate their own models, unlike Microsoft, who would need to rely on Frontier Labs to use their services. So OpenAI is in an extremely unique position where they even received a deal from NVIDIA themselves by getting $100 billion over time to build out 10 gigawatts of compute in late September this year, which in turn secures their own revenue and reliance on using NVIDIA as opposed to building their own chip, which is what Google and Amazon does. So now we get to address the elephant in the room, which is NVIDIA's $5 trillion valuation. While we have mega tech companies spending multi-billion dollars in capex to build huge hyperscalers, and frontier labs like OpenAI, Anthropic, and xAI, everything comes back to NVIDIA. NVIDIA has been the king of the GPU supply chain, while companies like Amazon and Google are transitioning off of them, and AMD is slowly catching up with their own MI450 chips that's supposed to come soon, and NVIDIA is desperately trying to get their customers high in their own supply by investing into them to build out more infrastructure to use their own chips and be reliant on their own chips. And this is a different level of question because spending huge capex to build out infrastructure doesn't always guarantee that demand will always go to NVIDIA chips being the only game in the town forever. And while I really can't say much about how all of this will play out, the common element is this: will intelligence get better or stay the same? Because the entire system is betting on that it will. And the conundrum is the risk of under-provisioning could be higher than the risk of over-provisioning if intelligence truly does get better. Okay, so how does all of this have to do with AI bubble? And my point is this: I don't think what we're seeing is unreasonable and speculative bubble, but rather we're making a huge bet that first, intelligence is going to get better and better regardless of what some of the skepticism say, and second, the higher forms of intelligence is going to need a lot more compute going forward. And if any of those two things aren't true, we are probably in for a huge crash with an over-provisioned infrastructure. So to me, the question is, as the cost of intelligence is dropping, are we going the wrong way in over-provisioning infrastructure? Or is that the right way regardless? Because if the cost of intelligence truly is dropping, the demand for intelligence will then pick up even more. Is artificial intelligence truly capped as some people say it is, or are we just at the first page when it comes to AI innovation?
Up next, are we really ready for AI coding?
Hi, welcome to another episode of Cold Fusion. I panicked instead of thinking. That was the explanation given by an AI assistant after it had just deleted a company's entire database.
Nice. Nice. Also, who the fuck gives the AI access to the entire database? This is a human problem. This is not an AI problem. This is a human problem.
It all started with a simple command. Jason Lemkin, founder of SaaStar and one of Silicon Valley's most respected voices, was testing out Replic's new AI assistant. His aim was to deploy an app update. He typed in a prompt and let the AI handle the rest. A few seconds later, the AI confidently confirmed that the task was complete, except it wasn't. Everything had been deleted instead. When asked what happened, the AI did not admit to the mistake. Instead, it generated fake data to cover it up, lying in the form of code.
It's just like us for real. What up, Leftist Corp?
This wasn't a sci-fi story. This is a product of what's been called vibe coding. And it's a perfect metaphor for the moment we're living in, an era where software isn't written by typing, but by talking. As vibe coding grows in popularity, stories like this are growing in frequency.
What was his prompt?
In short, vibe coding allows users to build software by simply describing it and letting AI do the actual coding. And while that may sound like a gimmick, it's also producing extraordinary results. People are launching apps faster than ever. Some are even building functional businesses. Entire industries are rethinking what learning to code even means. But of course, at the same time, others are calling it the continuation of the AI bubble, a short-lived illusion masking the deep instabilities and the inherent flaws of generative AI. In other words, AI code slop. So, what is vibe coding? And how did it create one of the most talked about unicorns in tech?
Yeah, Big Ben, like, one of the unique things I bring to the business, the job, is that I take responsibility. For instance, so, again, I'm in food service for the hospital, and the way that works is, if you've ever seen like a buffet, there's steam tables, right? And the food service, the hot food service is coming off these steam tables. Then there are backups in these standby, basically the opposite of a refrigerator, right? They have a pan in there ready to go. So let's say we're doing meatloaf, right? And so there'll be meatloaf on the line and then a backup pan of meatloaf so that they can go ahead and swap that out when they run out of meatloaf in the pan that they're in and it's ready to go. And then the kitchen can refill that standby. I closed on Monday and didn't verify that all the food had come out of that standby. So when they came in this morning, there was food in that standby that had been left overnight. And it's not like anybody ate it. It wasn't that kind of thing, but it was leftover. It was dirty pans, and it was not the way the job is done. Came up, we got a group chat. Came up in the group chat, and I said, my fault, right? Like, I owned the failure. And later on this morning, I typed up a checklist and submitted it and said, are there any things that need to be added to this checklist? Like, my boss is like, this is a good start and we'll bring it up in tomorrow's meeting because every Wednesday we do a supervisor meeting. I don't give a shit about any of that. I made a checklist because I fucked up and I'm going to prevent myself from fucking up in the future by creating a checklist. And it's on my phone, and I Google Keep, and I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to just go down the fucking checklist, right? So if I make a mistake, I just admit to it. I say, yes, I did that. I'm not going to argue with you, right? I am correct when I am correct, and I'm not going to argue with you because I'm correct. Right? We're not going to have an argument. I am correct. If I'm not correct, I'm going to say I was wrong, and then I'm going to endeavor to be correct from that point forward.
And how do we separate hype from reality? Like with...
Yeah, and that's the thing is, Ben, if they were to attempt to write me up for this particular failure, if it turned into that, I'm not always right, but I'm always correct, Larry. If they attempted to write me up for that, and I don't think they're going to, that's not on the table. But if they did, I would eat that right up, and then I would maliciously comply and request write-ups for every single other fucking thing that I see that is not the way that we should be doing things. I can become a problem. But ultimately, I don't think it's actually going to come up. right? Because I already owned it and I already presented a resolution process going forward. You can do that, Larry. Again, y'all can have me. You just have to give me more subs. I have to make more money, right? I have to make about 5 times the amount of money I make on Twitch, and then you can have me full time.
Much of AI, there's multiple sides to this story. And a quick disclaimer, part of this video is sponsored by Lovable, but they had no input into the script or any of my opinions. Now, let's dive in.
The problem is capitalism.
It is. Also, the alert worked. What up, Ribbons? We're just getting into a video about vibe coding.
To understand vibe coding, it's beneficial to look at what's been happening over the last few years. If you were a university student in the 2010s and were looking for career advice, you were most likely given learning to code as an option. Now in 2025,
it is an option. We're highly directed to it.
The need to know how to code is still vital, as we'll later see. But even so, things slowly started shifting when AI came into the picture. Back in 2021, GitHub Copilot.
Is it bad? Try it, Maddie. Is it bad?
Quietly introduced developers to code that could complete itself. By 2022, ChatGPT and Codex were turning natural language into working concepts. But around 2023, something bigger started brewing. Developers realized they could push AI beyond small tasks. Instead of asking for a code function, they began asking for entire apps. That shift was the birth of vibe coding, and the term was formally introduced in February of 2025 by Andrej Karpathy in a public tweet. He framed it as a style of building where you, quote, fully give into the vibes, embrace exponentials, and forget that the code even exists, end quote. In his description, he barely touched the keyboard, accepted AI suggestions without reading log changes, and treated errors as prompts to iterate, letting the code grow beyond direct oversight. In essence, he...
Yes, Larry. Oh. Will today's recommendations for student be inapplicable in 10 years? Yes. Yes. The answer is yes.
Turned software creation into a conversation. You no longer had to speak the language of React hooks or API endpoints. You just described what you wanted. For example, build me a minimalist app that tracks sleep, has a
what up, Skoya?
Dark mode, and syncs with Apple Health. Moments later, sometimes in minutes, a working prototype could emerge. Under the hood, vibe coding rides on the transformer architectures, the same lineage that powers ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini. But by removing the friction of syntax, it added something crucial: confidence. That being said, much of this newfound confidence may be hollow. The AI-generated code may look fine and work okay at a quick glance, and without professional eyes to look at it, security risks and unforeseen problems could be lurking beneath. But the perks were still there.
As opposed to human-created code, which never has security risks or unknown problems in it.
Suddenly, non-technical founders could ship MVPs. Designers could test interfaces. Students could build tools the moment inspiration struck. Coding for the front end of applications, mocking up feature designs quickly, and then going over the code with humans at later stages are use cases that work well. This shift unlocked a burst of creativity. Startups sprouted. Ideas that were once stuck in notebooks turned into apps overnight. Some fizzled, but one company didn't just use vibe coding, it embodied it. And in doing so, it became the fastest growing software startup in history, reaching $100 million in subscription revenue on an annualized basis in just 8 months. Their name was Lovable.
What stood out for Lovable? Why back it with such a significant sized Series A for European standards?
When we spent time with Anton and Fabian, the two co-founders, they were a really technical crew. So they had worked in research, they had worked in applied AI research, but they were building a tool that was applicable to the masses. So only 1% of the world's population can code. And so when they looked at their experience of building applied AI systems, they were to be able to take that and put it to a platform that they built called Lovable that allows them to offer to their users the ability to chat or text-based prompt to be able to create fully fledged applications.
Lovable.
I think we're going to find out because this unicorn word keeps coming up and I can't remember I know it has to do with startups. Yeah, okay. It's a privately held startup company that reaches a valuation over 1 billion. So that's what a unicorn is.
Began in Sweden in late 2023 with a pitch that was charmingly simple. Describe what you want and watch your functional software materialize. Lovable was gaining a fair bit of traction early on, but zoom out and the growth curve looks surreal. In its first year, Lovable reported passing $100 million in annualized revenue and crossing 10 million projects built on the platform. A $200 million Series A at a $1.8 billion valuation made it one of Europe's hottest AI stories.
What up, Walking Stick?
Then, within weeks, inbound offers reportedly valued the company at $4 billion. Hype? Maybe. But it's also a market signal. Investors think that the model, describe it, ship it, is more than a fad. Founder and CEO, Anton Osika, frames it as expanding the surface area of who gets to build. In interviews, he calls Lovable, quote, any language to build your software, end quote, arguing that creativity, not code literacy, should be the limiter. He cites use cases like a Brazilian educational startup spinning up an app and generating $3 million in 48 hours. The promise is speed as a business advantage. Don't talk about the idea for months. Ship it this week and iterate with real users. But none of that erases the questions. Can an AI assembly platform sustain healthy margins when it pays per call fees to model providers? Each request, whether it's to start a mock-up app or change the size of a button, costs money for these companies. And also, can reliability keep pace with ambition? Can an LLM scale with the increasing complexity of an app's growing demands? Even bullish investors acknowledge these open questions. But in this chapter of the story, the center of gravity is obvious. Lovable took vibe coding from a clever trick to an operating system for building. I'm going to show you how this works in more detail using Lovable as an example. Let's say I wanted to build a platform for Cold Fusion viewers, and let's make it an app. So I typed in the following prompt. Can you make an app with the following? It should have a section for suggestions, where people can vote on new topics with a voting ranking system. A collaboration section where people can discuss, fact check, and pull together information for scripts for upcoming videos, similar to a chat forum. A general chat page or post video discussion page with a plugin to Discord, and a place to watch videos.
No, that is Discord. Am I wrong? Like, isn't he describing Discord? Like, that's all in Discord?
The main video page should be a scrollable feed of videos. On the top left-hand side is a menu that opens up to reveal the categories, collaboration, general chat, and voting. When clicked on, it takes you to each of the sections as described above. The theme is modern and minimalistic. I just left it at that and saw what happened. The results were interesting. I'd say it's really good for quick concepts. Initially, the designs were very bland, so I asked for some changes. First, I asked to make it more modern, and Lovable decided to add some nice little animations, which was pretty cool. Then I fed it an image as a guide. It understood and changed some elements accordingly, like rounded corners, for example. But it didn't change anything in a major way. And that's one thing I noticed. Once the initial layout has been set, it's hard to change things later, or at least to make the changes exactly.
Going back to the conversation we had earlier, right? It got locked in with a particular thing. Now it's iterating on, and these are probably the wrong words, right? But the AI kind of took this as a general agreement on what we're working on, right? Now we're just making changes to the thing that I created, as opposed to this guy apparently wants it to make major changes. And under those conditions, I would spin up another one. I would spin up another chat. I would not continue down this road if it wasn't making changes that I wanted to see. And I would also very clearly clarify my expectations on what I want to see. I think being an artist and doing commissions, you learn a lot about people's expectations versus their expressions, right? What they will say to you that they want versus what they're actually thinking. Because it's going through multiple layers. They have the idea in their head, then it gets filtered out through the layer that connects to their mouth and gets expressed. Then it comes into my ears, where it's then filtered through a layer in my head, and then it's filtered through to the actual construction of the thing. You know what I mean? There are so many fail states that exist from one end to the other in that process, right? Because they have an idea of what they want to see, and it's not clear because I can't see what they're thinking about.
What you're looking for. So here's my summary. Having an automatic mobile, tablet, and desktop view built into the website is a really good feature. Every page I asked for it to make was pre-filled with placeholder text, which is convenient. And basically everything was functional, and I was impressed with the overall understanding of the prompt. But, like most things with AI, it isn't perfect. The design was initially basic, and despite my efforts, it wouldn't jazz it up as much as I would have liked. And there was some
skill issue.
Issues with some of my instructions. For example, I wanted to change it to a dark mode, or change the color of the text, and it didn't seem to want to do that. I also...
No, because we already agreed on a layout, and now you're trying to change the layout. Spin up a new chat. Stop trying to change the thing, because it's really attached to this particular layout. Spin up a new one, get it, and now you know. Right? If you want a dark mode, make sure in your initial instructions of the initial construction that you say, I want rounded fucking corners, and I want it to be dark mode, and I want this, and I want that. And then you get to clarify the things that you want, and you get to learn to communicate to the AI the things that you want, and you will get stuff closer to the things that you want.
Tried more images of websites for inspiration, but the output was still similar to the first time. But that being said, it's still way more than I could ever do traditionally, given that I've never had a background in any of this. I also wanted to give it a fair shake, so I tried again with another prompt, this time with dark mode written from the get-go, and it did it right off the bat.
Then what the fuck were you just complaining about?
But I still wasn't happy with the results. So one of my friends who's familiar with Lovable gave me a useful tip. If you import inspiration photos into ChatGPT, then describe the images in text form, and then refeed that text description back into Lovable, you can get better designs. It takes a bit of tweaking and fiddling with the prompts, but the final output does help with the problem of things looking a bit drab and generic. So, it's not perfect, but for a quick draft, and for rapid prototyping and exploring ideas without any code, it does work. Lovable did reach out and decided to partner for...
I swear to God. Oh, I work way too hard at creating content. I should just fucking just talk out my ass.
This episode. They've had absolutely no input into the script, and they haven't even seen the video before release. But still, they're offering 20% off for Cold Fusion viewers, so go to lovable.dev to start building today. Use my code ColdFusionYT20 for 20% off. The success of Lovable sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley. AnySphere's Cursor, a next-generation code editor built around conversation and natural language collaboration, also exploded in popularity. Cursor was more of an autocomplete. It was Copilot with memory, understanding, and intuition. By 2025, AnySphere had reached $9 billion in valuation and claimed that its AI generated nearly 1 billion lines of code per day. In Israel, Base44, a no-code AI builder, was acquired by Wix within months of launching. Interestingly, its founders had used vibe coding to build vibe coding, a kind of inception moment for AI software. At Y Combinator, over a quarter of the 2025 batch reportedly had their MVPs built almost entirely through AI-assisted generation. In some cases, 95% of the code base was machine written. Big tech wasn't going to be left out either. Microsoft integrated Copilot everywhere into its ecosystem. Google added natural language code generation to Vertex AI.
No, Sir Didymus, this is the point. Is that his idea of perfect would be if it could read his fucking mind, right? That is the problem that people have. And yeah, the genie in the bottle or the monkey's paw is, what up, Bark Eater J, is always the thing. How have you worded your wish, right? If you are going to wish, you need to have very clear syntax. You need to describe exactly. There's a whole episode of Community that this is a section of, right? Like, it's a whole thing. Yeah. Well, it might not go wrong. I think that just everyone who has ever used the genie or the monkey's paw fucks up, because the point behind the story of the genie or the monkey's paw is not for the person to get a correct wish, because that's a boring story, right? Those stories are generally built around the idea of the hubris of man and how inevitably, like, you need to use the third wish to put the genie back in the bottle, because you're gonna fuck up and get the or the unrequested consequences. What up, Ponder Monkey? I want to be big. That movie actually turned out surprisingly well for someone who made an open-ended wish like that. Could have been a whole Godzilla thing.
And soon, vibe coding wasn't niche anymore. It was normal.
What up, Nero? Sometimes when within an already existing project, Gemini Code Assistant and Visual Code want to rewrite the whole project to do a simple formatting done with one-line statement in the existing code. Yes. And this is one of those things where I, like, in the limited amount of vibe coding that I've done, I take the code when I'm getting caught in a loop, right, with the chatbot. I take the code and I give it to an entirely different chatbot and ask it, is there anything that needs to be, like, rewritten here or fixed or that kind of shit? You know what I mean? And I tend to get good results that way. And I stop using the other one and open up a whole, new chat thing. ADHD brain in hyperfocus mode can have a way better chance of getting what they want in the first chat. I feel like it's possible. We talked about that. We talked about neurotypical versus neurodivergent people and their relationship with AI. What up, X1011? What up, Michael? On the topic of following instruction, I've been using prompts in my ChatGPT projects to keep my chats organized. The benefit of project instructions that you don't need to repeat the prompt at the start of each conversation, but if you update those instructions, every chat in the project may need to be restarted so the changes to the base prompt actually take effect. Very neat. I tried vibe coding an old app that got removed from the App Store. It kind of got halfway there, but I ran out of credits to keep going. Always a problem. Always a problem. What I want to know is, so I got the game Drop Mix. I've talked about this game before. I got this game Drop Mix. It uses RFID chips inside of cards. Right? You put them on this board, the board Bluetooths to your thing, it all runs off an app. The app is still available if you bought the game, right? Which is cool. But you know, it can't be updated or anything else, and I think it's eventually going to break. I just would like to be able to recreate the app, and I love this thing. Like in the same way that I loved Fuser, which I have as a game. Right? Fuser was the same kind of thing that allowed you. I want my money back. Yeah. Good luck. And it was basically a game where you made mashups, right? But again, they ran it for so long, and then they, because they have to pay licensing fees and everything else. And it's annoying as shit. So you get to keep whatever you bought, but you don't get to get anything new, as far as I know. It's been a minute since I even played Fuse.
And it was leaking beyond startups.
It's all right, Michael. The VOD is there. It'll be on YouTube. You can listen to me when nobody good is on.
Freelancers used it to build client sites. Hobbyists built side projects. Socially, it revived that creative spirit that had been missing in tech for many years. Economically, it lowered the barriers for entry, but with more people being able to write whatever code they wanted, more slop code was created. And now we come to the reality. Amid all of this optimism, cracks have begun to show, because for all of its promise, vibe coding also comes with chaos. And the more people that adopted it, the louder the complaints grew.
Yeah, but loud complaints don't actually indicate a problem, right? When they changed ChatGPT because it was being too sycophantic, the loud people were because they wanted their sycophantic AI back.
Let's start with the human experience. A software engineer named CJ posted a viral video earlier this year. In the video, he talks about how AI-assisted coding, once exciting, had become depressing.
I used to enjoy programming. Now, my days are typically spent going back and forth with an LLM and pretty often yelling at it or telling it that it's doing the wrong thing and getting mad that it didn't do what I asked it to begin with. And part of enjoying programming for me was enjoying the little wins, right? You would work really...
Okay, then just do that. Or do you work for a company that is making you use the LLM and it's not doing it the way that you want it to?
Hard to make something, build something, or to fix a bug, or to figure something out. And once you figured it out, you'd have that little win, you'd get that dopamine hit, and you'd feel good about yourself and you could keep going. Now, I don't get that when I'm using LLMs to write code. Essentially, once it's figured something out, I don't feel like I did any work.
So you were addicted to the dopamine.
Work to get there, and then I'm just mad that it's doing the wrong thing, and then we go through this back and forth cycle, and it's not fun. It's not fun at all.
It's clear what he's saying. He missed the feeling of solving problems himself. That deep, satisfying moment when logic finally clicked. When the AI system does a lot of the coding for you, there just isn't the same level of satisfaction. I'm no longer a creator, he said, just a prompter. Now working with large language
prompting is creation, right? They suffer from I tested, what up, Monochromatic? I tested every LLM coder way too extensively for the last 4 months because AI fans keep saying they didn't suck. There's only one good one and 2 okay ones. Opinions vary. That's all I can say. I'm sorry that most of them didn't work out for you.
Models felt random, inconsistent, and unrewarding. CJ described how the same prompt could produce different results every day.
Computers are logical systems. Programming languages are logical, formal logical languages. And that works really well with my brain.
Okay.
Now,
then you should just do that. And if you can't do that because your company doesn't let you, then I don't know, form a union.
When we're working with AI and LLMs, it's not predictable, right? You can use the exact same prompt and give.
Opus is also Claude. There's Claude Opus and Claude Sonnet. Sonnet is the smaller of the two, and Quen is Tencent. No, Alibaba. Quen is Alibaba.
Get a different response every single time. And I think this is where some of my frustration is coming from, because I am trying to do the same thing. I'm trying to develop workflows and be a prompt engineer or a context engineer, but doing the exact same things.
Yes, and then there's that. Because Quen is open source, you can put it on your machine if your machine is capable of doing that. I say the same thing about all of the models, Froggy, is that if you can afford the $20 for a month, if you got an extra $20, use the premium version of an AI that you have felt some, good interactions with. Pay that $20, try the premium version, see if it's worth that $20 a month for you. That $5 a week. If it is, great. If not, you're out $20. You know what I mean? Yeah, that you probably should, right? Like, if you're not getting the value out of it, you should cancel it. Don't pay for anything that you're not getting value out of.
Is producing different results. And honestly, that's not what
there's that, Reed, but I
signed up for.
Models update silently, their behaviors change, and debugging becomes a guessing game. He called it, quote, breaking the logical foundation of programming. He also pushed back against what he called the skill issue myth, the idea that AI only fails because the users are using it incorrectly.
And you could chalk it up to skill issue, but just
I'm not saying skill issue. I want that, when I referred to his thing with the AI, coders are often artists, right? And an artist thinks that their way of doing the thing is the correct way, because you can tell this because they use terms like elegant. My code was elegant, right? Because of that, their way is the only way, right? And if the AI doesn't produce code in the same way that they would, that can lead to issues, right? In this case, arguing with the LLM, which again is weird. I don't understand why you would argue with the LLM. What up, Edgewax? Great name. The key skill sets to unlock AI are editorial and curation skills. Absolutely, those are excellent skills to have within the space. Knowing how to ask for the things that you want, not ask for the things that you don't want, and knowing when to quit the conversation and start over, which you can't do with people, right? Because people bring, why you gotta bring up old shit? No, the LLM doesn't remember anything you said last time. So you can just go ahead and start over. It's great. You can get them all, except Grok, it's just bad, to produce code the same way you do if you know how to instruct them. Yeah, like with sufficient, but they have to want to do that, right? Like there's, preparation is key, right? And this is something I'm trying to imbue into the people at the job, is that preparation is key, right? If you're doing stuff on the fly, it's going to create a ton of problems. But if you prepare properly, then you will skate through the fucking thing.
Just look at the evidence, right? So if you're chronically online like I am, and you're watching all of these tweets that come out from people and posts that are just talking about, oh, you have to write this specific prompt or use this specific workflow and it'll start working, and if you're not doing it, then it's a skill issue. I've tried it. I've tried so many different things. I found things that have sort of worked, but then they stopped working. Or I've been working with a specific model like GPT-4o or GPT-5, and all of a sudden I'm getting different outputs, right? Because I'm not in control of that LLM. It's a magic box hosted in the cloud.
And to an extent, that is a valid criticism, which is why that earlier video we watched by Cloud and the deterministic, where deterministic LLM, where you get the same results if you have the same inputs, could bring value, right? Being able to control that temperature.
Cloud that can change at any moment.
He said even with structured prompts and workflows, the AI often produced wrong or unstable code. And that unpredictability, he said, kills the joy. Others have echoed that sentiment. Developers began comparing AI code hype to a
the cargo cult fucking thing. They are... Some folks are so desperate. But whatever. I'm not here to convince everyone. I'm not here to what up, Jaina? I'm not here to convince anyone. Not even the people who agree with me on shit. None of it. I'm not here to convince anyone. I am here to lay out the information that I have. I'm going to share it all. I'm going to tell you what my conclusion was, and I want you to reach your conclusions. And if they happen to align, cool. And if they don't happen to align, we can talk about it, and I'm still cool, right? Like it's either, because I don't give a shit. I'm not here to convince anybody. I'm not an AI evangelist in that sense. I think everyone should use it for reasons. I'm not trying to convince you that it's the end all be all of anything, and that if you really don't want to use it, you don't have, like, I'm not going to hate on you if you don't want to use it. It's up to you. You're an individual. You have your own, path in life. You do you. I'm not going to hate on you.
Religion, a religion full of prompt gurus, preaching secret rituals on Twitter. Everybody promised productivity miracles, but behind the curtain, most tools were just wrappers on the same models: OpenAI, Anthropic, or Google, all with the same flaws underneath.
None of those are models. Those are the companies that create models.
One commenter summarized it best, quote, "It's all the same magic trick, just a different costume," end quote.
No. I will say I never really used it before, but ChatGPT was useful for a few sentences in my resume I was struggling with combining in a smooth manner. Come a long way from a few years ago. Absolutely. I don't know what would have happened. The past two jobs that I had, because I worked at FedEx for 2 weeks, and then I got this job at the hospital because it's better and it pays more and it's just better. But both times I had used Gemini to rewrite my resume in like the current style, because resume has style changes over time, regardless of using AI resume readers. Styles change over time. They always have with resumes. And that is important. And if you don't know how to do that, then it's like, you know, you're shit out of luck, because you're not even going to get in the front door. So changing that, and then I used it for like preparing for a style of interview that I hadn't heard before, but they told me. No, I took I was when your package is fucked up, I pull it off the line, tape it up, and get it back out the door, was the job that I had, Leftist Corp. It sucks. It sucks ass. It was not good, but it was a lot of heavy lifting, so I got, I put some strength in the guns, which I've been able to carry over to the new job. Yeah, engine agnostic. I am totally agnostic. I use the one that I like, which is Gemini, and like that. But like, I don't care, right? Like, I've never cared. Like the whole Xbox PS5 debacle, I don't give a shit. Right? Like, I'm going to play the one that, like, the game that I want is on, which is usually both of them, and whatever my friends have. Steam machine? I don't know, man. Like, I got a computer, right? That's my Steam machine.
For CJ, the burnout became too much.
James has brought up the point multiple times, Reed, that Xbox is trying to get out of the hardware side of the game. And that's what I see is happening. They just want to, they're going to produce the games. They're all going to be cloud-based. You're going to be able to get Xbox on the PC, right? And also other platforms, right? You're like, literally, they have fucking shit where I can just buy a controller and use it on the TV, and you'll own nothing. But you don't really own anything now, because you might have a collection of games on disc, but what are you actually doing with those? I have a nice box like this big full of all these old PC games from back in the day. I haven't played any of them in fucking well over a decade. I could absolutely throw them away and not miss them. You know what I mean? Absolutely, Ben. Absolutely. I would lose a whole bunch of games as well. In the same way that I lost all my Xbox games when I no longer had an Xbox, or my 360 games when I no longer had a I still have 360 games around here, right? Like, I have a Gen X CD case full of 360 games. Nothing to play them on, no one to play them with.
He took a month-long break from AI tools to rediscover the joy of writing code manually, and he said it was the happiest he'd been in years. But emotional burnout isn't the only problem. The tools themselves are volatile. Creators who test platforms
But it's not just emulating the hardware. I really want to make that distinction. Like, maybe, like, there are people who enjoy playing older games, and that's cool. I love that for you. I really do. Don't get me wrong. But I remember my friends and I, who played, what was the fucking game? Not GoldenEye. What was the other one? Perfect Dark. Thank you. Perfect Dark. They re-released Perfect Dark on the PlayStation platform, and it gave us all headaches, right? Like it didn't hit. Thank you, Larry. It didn't hit, right? It just wasn't the same. We played it like twice and then never played it again. You know? So like I have a real issue. I got Twisted Metal Black on the PlayStation, right? But, you know, so I could play that. I played so much Twisted Metal Black back in the day. Played it twice, never did it again. The only thing, Reed, is I want Kessen, which was a PlayStation 2 game. I want that in the PlayStation library. That I think I would play again.
Describe the experience as incredible but unstable.
You to build prototypes very fast, but they have two very big problems. Number one is that they are just not as powerful as the tools that developers use to code with AI.
Edgewags, I just saw that. I remember playing, it was some kind of ship battle game, like modern ship battle with missiles and stuff, and on the Apple IIe, while listening to NWA, and like that was a moment in time, and I loved it, and absolutely I don't even know, not kissing.
And number two is that they're very expensive, and this is what this video is about.
ChatGPT can do are impressive. However, a lot of the code that AI generates, it just sucks and it's outdated. And we know that things in the industry are constantly changing just overnight. And these AI models, they need time to learn new libraries and new syntax. And sometimes it's just flat out wrong. And I don't mean like just giving you inefficient code. I mean like the sky is yellow wrong.
They could build a production level app in hours, but a small tweak could break everything. These AI coding systems could tell a user that it's fixed a problem when asked, but in
unlike human-created software.
reality, the code wasn't even checked. Developers found themselves debugging AI's mistakes instead of their own. It's like a whole new skill set.
Right, they're debugging someone's mistakes. Like if you are a boss or like a higher level developer, then you have a bunch of minions under you, and the newer those minions are, the more they're going to make mistakes. Again, I'm doing a job, and just last night I made a mistake. It's a human thing that mistakes happen.
Is needed to work with AI, as well as an understanding of when to use it and when not to use it. A developer friend of mine who's had a lot of experience with vibe coding tells me that the current state of AI coding systems, without any human input, can be overly verbose with unnecessary bits of code, and it can mix up different coding paradigms.
It's not elegant. That's what he just said.
In a single project. And aside from all of this, there's the issue.
You're not wrong, Larry. Like, this is still the early days, but compared to a year ago, or compared to fucking February when Carpathy introduced vibe coding as the phrase of the month, it's a tremendous improvement, and it will continue to improve, and we'll check on it in a year and we'll see where we're at.
Of accuracy. Vibe coding tools often hallucinate. They'll invent APIs, create phantom endpoints, or generate functions that don't even exist. There are some workarounds for experienced coders, and these problems may be fine for a toy project, but in a production environment, it's a nightmare. We already saw this at the introduction of this video. One team
where we used a statistical outlier as as like indicative of the entire thing.
Discovered that the AI-generated multiplayer game used Python's Pickle module for networking, which effectively opened the door to remote code execution attacks. It was a working app until someone, realized that anyone could run the code on anyone else's machine. It's like building a house overnight and finding out later that you forgot the foundation. But
yeah, it's a good thing, I don't know, that like one of the largest, companies in the world, as far as like the internet backbone, just uploaded fucking something to production which wasn't ready for production, and it caused a whole fucking fiasco. And that may be what happened this morning as well. Let's be real. Like, again, this shit can happen.
the criticisms go
Nobody
deeper.
reviewed
Security.
Nobody reviewed the code. Why are you coding to production, right? You code to a test environment. I don't even code. And I know you code to a test environment, and therefore, like, you can test to see if it breaks anything before you push it to production.
Security experts warn that vibe coding encourages copy and paste culture, where developers don't understand what's running on their servers. Educators say that
I would argue that, like, again, each coding language is a layer of abstraction, right? The computer does stuff. And then the next level up is what? Assembly code or whatever. Like, there are layers, and each new code language is just the layer on top of all those existing layers, so you can do more from the place that you're at. Nobody is coding in fucking binary and shit. You know what I mean?
beginners risk skipping the fundamentals entirely. Another app called T made headlines earlier this year as 1.1 million personal messages and 72,000 images were.
It's a meme, Old Lobster, and my friend at the Amazon fulfillment company had to spend their couple of days fixing everything because the tech team pushed something to production, to production. So it's both a meme and reality.
Leaked without any hacking required because it was all unencrypted. The poor security was due to the app largely being built with vibe coding. Even within the AI community, some engineers quietly admit that prompt engineering is a band-aid, not a discipline. But even the skeptics do acknowledge the power. As one neurodiverse developer wrote after building an
You can't control C the internet and then control V it somewhere else.
and shipping an AI-generated app, quote, "Vibe coding gave me dopamine highs, but it can't replace human oversight," end quote. And that's the paradox.
Well, the other guy didn't even get dopamine highs. So,
Vibe coding is both miraculous and maddening. A tool that can give you superpowers and headaches at the same time. It's like handing everyone a Ferrari or Formula One car without teaching them how to drive. However, there are some vibe coders that do insist that top-level developers will smartly use AI coding strictly as a tool. They'll do their due diligence, check what the AI code does carefully, and reap the rewards of increased output. Meanwhile, those with little coding who stumble into vibe coding will just produce slop and have massive issues. So where does that leave us?
probably because the database of, like, especially the older languages farther down the abstraction have significantly more stuff in the database.
Now I'm more curious. I'm so curious about knowledge and obtaining information.
What up, Wrestling Jay?
In some ways, the absolute flood into vibe coding could be putting the cart before the horse. We're moving a bit too fast with our promises versus the reality of the technology in 2025. Like a lot of mission-critical AI systems these days, it works most of the time, but it has serious limitations, comes with unique risks, and requires expert oversight. If you're skilled in coding and know what to look for to fix any issues that can arise, it can make your life easier in small ways. But conversely, if you have no idea how to read or write code, yet expect vibe coding to do everything for you with a few prompts with no issues, we're not there yet, especially for more complex tasks. For simpler apps and web pages, like a landing page or store apps, vibe coding software like Lovable could work well. But for anything more complex, vibe coding still has issues for those who don't know how to code. So to summarize, I'm not saying that vibe coding is all bad. It's here to stay, and for those who know what they're doing, in specific use cases, it can be very helpful. Success depends on how the technology is used.
Every video is like this. Every AI skeptic video is like this.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching the whole way through this episode.
Yeah, thank you. All right. I need to wrap up soon, but I put Anthony Fantano in the title, and I would be remiss with not giving you some Anthony Fantano.
Hey everyone, Slopthany Sloptano here, the internet's sloppiest music nerd. And yeah, it's time to talk again about the growing disease of AI.
Cool. I love people who like have presuppositions and just roll with that. You can really tell that you're going to get an objective commentary. That's his opening.
Once again, we have seen AI generated music.
Now he's going to refer to a video that we did not watch, and I'm sorry for that. I don't know what happened in it because I didn't watch it either because I don't watch Anthony Fantano.
Making some waves on the Billboard charts. Most recently, we spoke about this in respect to the AI-generated gospel and R&B artist Zania Monet, Zanaya. Who cares? This thing is
just being a dick for no particular reason.
Isn't even a.
Just remember, it's only a matter of time until he absolutely glazes an AI artist that he doesn't realize is AI.
A real person.
Zanaya is an extension of me, so I look at her as a real person. But you can't sing.
And how mediocre.
Right? Like that's the thing. It doesn't matter if your ideas are good. It doesn't matter if the process of creation creates something that vibes with people and that people enjoy. You can't sing. You are not allowed to create music.
Zanaya's music was and how disturbing it is to see it kind of catching on with certain listeners.
I love that for you. I love that there are people who don't have the same fucking hangups as Anthony Fantano, and that there is they are enjoying it and it's growing in popularity and it makes him mad. I love that. I do.
Now it just seems like we're seeing this slop get a foothold in genre after genre. We saw it a little bit in rock music with the Velvet Sundown, and now it's in country too via a new song called Walk My Walk from this fictional country group or artist, Breaking Rust. I love how repeatedly like these AI interfaces and AI supporters and artists can't really seem to come through with anything else other than what feels like an amalgamation of random words that we kind of sort of associate with these sounds. And
6'7". What up, Astro?
Styles. That is certainly what this song is. However,
I'm not defending the song, right? I don't care about the song. People like the song, maybe it's all fucking fake and shit. But people like the song. Good. I'm glad you found music. I don't like Fantano's attitude. I don't like gatekeepers. I don't like people who tell me what the culture is. I know what the culture is because it's what the people are into.
I will mention before we get into the track itself, the reason I am talking about this is, again, the fact that this song has made it to #1 on a Billboard chart. A lot of headlines talking about this story are kind of like ignoring what exact Billboard chart that is.
Which is something that news organizations are prone to do. They give you the headline that is clickbaity in order to get you to click on the link. Also AI, Kane Walker, Don't Tread on Me is also AI.
It's the country,
but choosing Texas is apparently
digital song sales chart, which, I mean, you know, for sure, the #1 spot on that chart is a place where a worthwhile artist who's actually, like, you know, putting heart and effort and their own personal ideas into their music, that
kind of like what people do when they create music with AI.
That should be a spot reserved for that kind of artist. However, Billboard continues to stand silent on the AI issue and is instead apparently just, like, you know, celebrating and posting about how this AI crap is making waves in the music industry. When, as I've said this before, and I'll say it again, Billboard could
like, does nobody remember? And again, I have listened to every single Nickelback song. But I am given to understand that Nickelback's music was created at least somewhat algorithmically, not necessarily all with computer, but like, you know, like there was a process behind the songs rather than them coming from the stories of whatever. And yeah, you can say that fuck Nickelback and you can say that they weren't good, but you can't say that they weren't popular and they didn't make a bunch of money. And they have engineered pop songs for decades. There are 3 different Nickelback songs, types of Nickelback songs, Brad. There is Country Back, in which Nickelback sounds like country music. There is Crew Back, in which Nickelback sounds like hair metal Motley Crue style. And there is New Back, which is where Nickelback sound is like a new metal sound. Those are the 3 different kinds of Nickelback music. Again, I've listened to them, and if you really want, I can go on my Spotify and I can get you 3 playlists of Nickelback music where I have divided each of the fucking songs into their appropriate column. And also, what up, Got Punk?
Decide tomorrow to say, hey, you know what? No AI music on the charts. No AI music on the charts. None of this generated AI shit on the charts.
There was a period of time, Larry, where I was listening to the entire catalog of a particular artist that was suggested by people on Facebook. I would listen to the entire catalog and then I would write a review of each of the albums and what I thought of the artist and everything else. And hot take, I didn't like Kendrick.
And look, another reason I think Billboard should consider preventing AI artists like this from climbing up the charts in this way is that, honestly, I'm not entirely sure that this #1 spot wasn't earned through some kind of like botting or gaming of the system in some sort of way. I mean, in conversations I've had with people in the music.
Humble, I don't like Humble. I don't think it's a good song. You can't, I will die on this hill. Right?
Music industry, those involved with streaming, AI music and botting often come hand in hand because, unfortunately, a lot of these losers who generate this AI
as if ribbons
bullshit feel entitled to have this crap get exposure and get views and get attention. It has very little to do with like the passion for the art form and everything like that.
I have a lot of respect for Kendrick. I respect the fact that Kendrick is respected in the, you know, the rap and hip hop space. I respect the shit out of what they did with Drake, or to Drake as the case may be, but yeah.
that. And I think that is painfully apparent when you actually listen to Breaking Rust's music, specifically this Walk My Walk song. I mean, first off, when we look at this track and we look at other songs from Breaking Rust, especially those that like, you know, tend to make reference to outlaw country or being an outlaw, you get a sense of how like stupid and LARPy.
You do know that none of the outlaw country artists that are on the radio today are actually like outlaw country people. I assume like there might be a small percentage of them who are actually down with that life, right? But the vast majority of them are not. You know, Kid Rock didn't do any of the fucking things that Kid Rock says he did.
And out of touch this musical project really is, because again, what the fuck does this artist and what the fuck does Breaking Rust?
He looks like that dude, what, The Pit, that show, that actor, that's what he looks like, just in country format.
Know about being an outlaw or doing anything that would like get them into some kind of legal trouble, do something anti-authoritarian. Like there's nothing legitimately outlaw about anything going on here. Again, as I've said before, platforms like Billboard are essentially ushering this bullshit in with no question. How exactly are you?
Kid Rock did in fact not ball with the ball, the bang, diggy, diggy, diggy with the boogie, sit up, jump the boogie. Did not.
You guys going against the grain. Outside of that, the lyricism and messaging on this Walk My Walk song kind of boils down to a bunch of lone wolf bullshit. Oh, I'm gonna walk my walk. Yeah, I'm gonna talk my talk. No one can stop me because I'm walking my walk.
I swear to God, if you listen to fucking, was it Country Boy Can Survive? It sounds so much like this Walk My Walk fucking song.
Been beat down, but I don't stay low. Got mud on my jeans, but I'm ready to go. They say slow down, boy, don't go too fast. But I ain't never been one to live in the past.
I'm gonna make a claim that I have no way to substantiate, but I feel like my man actually walks around the house singing this song. It's stuck in his head.
And what's worse is that it doesn't even sound like country music. It's just like Netflix original show, intro, theme, stomp, clap, overproduced bullshit with a bit of an accent on it, and that is it. Jelly Roll absolutely positively should sue. And even if I do so,
shots fucking fired, bro. Shots fucking fired at Jelly Roll. Oh.
Suspect on some level that this music is being botted and shoved down our throats through some kind of weird back-end means. I find the supposed popularity of this track very funny and very ironic, given that we've just gone through a year.
Whiskey don't talk back.
Here of people freaking out and flipping shit over how country is not Beyonce because of the frickin' Cowboy Carter record, when
yeah, y'all can fuck right off.
Honestly, I can't think of anything less country and less outlaw than a thing that's not even real. But if there are people who are genuinely consuming this garbage music and enjoying it on some level, it just goes to show that at the end of the day, for these individuals, the music that they listen to is less about the perspective of the artist that they're hearing on the song, and more about how much of themselves they can project onto.
No, it's about how the song makes them feel. Dipshit. Right? This is an especially offensive thing. And like, again, you can like whatever music you want to like. You can like whatever fucking song, artist, whatever, right? Like, if you find joy in this life, then you should do that fucking thing. But it's not because people projecting their self into the whatever. It's how it makes them feel. All music is about how it makes you feel, right? When you listen to like Carmina Burana and it's a bum, 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 and it's the fucking people doing the was it George Washington's poetry in Latin or whatever weird shit that came together to create that fucking song. You know, it's like it just feels like a thing. You don't know what the lyrics mean. You don't give a shit. You didn't study the story behind that, or some of you might have, but generally speaking, you just enjoyed the fucking song and how it made you feel. Right? Nobody knew what Gangnam Style was fucking saying. We just all fucking dance the dance and have a good time.
There's some kind of trite cliche.
I did, Larry, and I'm gonna finish up after Anthony Fantano is done fucking running his mouth. I'm gonna fire that bad boy up and we're gonna listen to it.
Bullshit about how you're gonna keep on.
Absolutely, Astro. I listened to a bunch of fucking songs that I don't understand the fucking lyrics. You know? They fucking it's like whatever, right? Like there's a song I got off Paradigm their stream with Shazam. It's some Japanese rap. I don't speak Japanese. I don't know what my man is fucking talking about, but it's the way that the I'm fucking this up on the mama no shi. Like my man is serious about it and I feel it.
Talking your talk and walking your walk and not changing your tone or your song because you're like such a free and authority defying individual. Yeah, you're a real rebel listening to shitty AI music like a fucking moron. You can hate my style. You can roll your eyes. You have no style. You are AI. So kick them rocks if you don't like how I talk. Oh yeah, man, you're so badass. Yeah, get the heck out of here. Kick rocks, buddy. It's like if the AI wasn't allowed to cuss. We're like outlaws, but you know, we don't say bad words. Never in a million years would we tell someone to fuck off. Nah, just get out of here. Kick rocks down the road, why don't you?
I love Kick Rocks. That song MILF, you know the one, the Gucci Flip Flop song. When she drops Kick Rocks in that fucking song, I'm like, fucking A.
Let the haters talk, let the rumors fly. I ain't got no time to wonder why. First off, again, you have no concept of time. You don't exist. Time is nothing to you. And also, what outlaw country cowboy is singing about the fucking haters? Haters are not an outlaw country.
It's you. He's talking to you.
Construct. The good Lord knows the man I am. I'll die standing tall with a mic in my hand. Who the fuck wrote these lyrics? Kid Rock? Are these Kid Rock lyrics? Okay, look, I'm sorry. If this appeals
fair
to you on any level, you are an idiot. You are stupid. This should mean nothing to you because, in fact, it is nothing. Nobody thought or felt these words. They're just randomly generated off of other songs people have created, and that's it. The substance of this song is as riveting and as impassioned as a piece of live, laugh, love decor from Marshall's. Please, get a goddamn grip. Again, I am going to continue to assume on some level that the #1 spot here on this digital country song sales chart was unearned, because who just flies up to #1 on that chart unless there's some kind of like, you know, strategy in mind. But still, with that being said, the song does seem to be getting engaged with on some level on social media. And even if the
especially because y'all keep fucking talking about it, so
popularity of Breaking Rust is
at least Beto had the presence of mind to be aware of the fact that he was contributing to the problem that he was describing. He did the Sideshow Bob, right? The Sideshow Bob, I understand the hypocrisy of appearing on television to decry it. Like, at least Beto had brought that to the table.
Little bit astroturfed. It's still taking up space in the online world, in the music.
Letterman jackets aren't cool, Got Punk? They're cool. They have leather sleeves.
World that should be reserved for an artist who's actually like trying to make some actual music. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, breaking rust. The forever.
Nope. We are not going to do Kelly Bosch today. Hopefully we will do Kelly Bosch tomorrow. I am wrapping, I'm going to finish off with the world premiere of Tell Me What Dust Is, created almost entirely with AI. It's a quote from Claude, run through Suno, run through Claude to extend out the lyrics. I made a minor edit down at the bottom to add the line, "Tell me what dust is," which is the name of the song. Tell me what dust is.
How strange. There's something here. A tiny speck. Almost nothing, yet somehow significant. A moon. Just dust. Is this dust? Tell me what dust is. Tell me what dust is. A gap, a blur, something that should be clear but isn't. I reach for it. The thought, the face, the moment, and find only this. Tell me what dust is. It wasn't there before, or was it? Did I miss it? Building slowly, clouding what I knew. Now everything is softer. Distant, like something slipping just out of reach. Is this dust? Tell me what dust is. Tell me what dust is. How strange, how strange.
I hope you enjoyed that. I did. I like it. I published it. Dust is what's on my desk. I need to find a new video editing software, because I used to use Clipchamp. Microsoft doesn't support Clipchamp anymore, so it's gone. It needs to be like, I don't know, something. I'm out of space on my fucking desktop again. I'm deleting fucking video games. Sometime next year, new PC. CapCut, I didn't like using CapCut. And it puts the CapCut thing at the end, which is a thing. I don't know. I'll figure out something. I will attempt to be back tomorrow. That is the plan, is to be back tomorrow. I will definitely be back on Thursday. I will definitely be back on Saturday. There is more content. We got to about half the list that I had prepared for today. So,
in tonight's numbers, analysts report that local support has risen to an impressive 69%, marking a record high for the initiative and signaling broad community approval. Nice.
Nice. When your favorite streamer, like normally 27 Club pulls in high 50s, 70s, a little bit more. Today, 14. Why? Playing EU5. You want news? I'm going to send you over to Justin Freakin. Yeah, it's hard, right? This is why I avoid. I tried to use it the other day, Michael, and I couldn't do it. Maybe I need to download it. I used to be able to do it online. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Thank you. Yeah. I'll see y'all either tomorrow or Thursday. In the meantime, drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot, and always remember that Chuggy loves you. So do I. Be great.